Good afternoon and welcome inside Gainbridge Fieldhouse. Zach Linfield here alongside Neil Sinha. The old Purdue gang is back together. The trip to West Lafayette didn't really end the way we thought it would, especially getting a flat tire on the way there. Nonetheless, we're inside Gainbridge Fieldhouse inside Indianapolis, Indiana for the first round of the NCAA tournament between the Colorado State Rams as a 6 seed out of the Mountain West Conference in the West Coast, and of course the Michigan Wolverines from the Big Ten who are sitting at an 11 seed. Neil, there's been a lot of speculation around the Wolverines on whether or not they should be in this tournament. Well, they're here in front of us. What do you expect out of the Wolverines and Juwan Howard today following their loss 1 week ago to Indiana?
I expect big things. I mean, listen, this was a very talented team last year. And I hate to constantly repeat this because I feel like every broadcast we do for this basketball team, we're constantly talking about last year. But it has to be said, this was a preseason top 5 team in the country. They didn't live up to the expectations at all. Guys like Caleb Houston, Moussa Diabate to a certain extent, didn't live up to the billing that came with their national recruiting rankings. And so now here we are. Michigan's an 11 seed. Like you said, a lot of people didn't think they should even be here. But I think Juwan Howard's going to have these boys absolutely fired up. I expect big things. The question for the Wolverines is going to be, they're going to be without Devontae Jones today. Their super senior guard, of course, the transfer from Coastal Carolina, he's not playing today. He has been fantastic the last 2-3 weeks for the Wolverines and has been a big reason why they're even here in the first place, because without Devontae Jones in that Ohio State game, I'm not sure they win that game. So Frankie Collins, the true freshman out of Reno, Nevada, is going to have to step up big time today.
Michigan will be going against a team that finished second in the regular season in the Mountain West Conference, the Colorado State Rams. We know they have one big name. His name is David Roddy, and he is an extremely talented big guard. He stands at 6'5", 252 pounds, a junior out of Minneapolis, Minnesota. He was the Mountain West Conference Player of the Year, and he is extremely talented in this 5-out offense that Colorado State runs.
Yeah, and I mean, you look at the guy and you think there's no way he's playing basketball. I mean, like you said, 6'5", 6'6", 250 pounds, and he's listed as a guard. I mean, how insane is that? And if you've watched his games, I decided to watch quite a few of Colorado State's games recently just to learn more about this team. David Roddy does it all. He does it all. He can shoot. He shoots 45% from free and 57% from the field. Those are some of the best splits I've ever seen of a college basketball player because he can shoot the three and he can post you up. And by the way, if you let him get close to the basket, you better watch out because that man is going to put you on a poster.
Now let's go over the starting lineups today. We'll start with Colorado State, who is technically the home team in Indianapolis today. They'll have John Tonje, Kendall Moore, Isaiah Stevens, Deshaun Thomas, and David Roddy. And one notable thing about the starting lineup for Colorado State, their forward, they only start one. He stands at 6'9". That's Deshaun Thomas, the junior from Durham, North Carolina. What do you think the size has to do with this game since Hunter Dickinson stands at 7'1"? Michigan may have an advantage on the inside.
Oh, definitely. I mean, it's going to be very interesting to see because, like you said, Deshaun Thomas is 6'8", 235 pounds. I'm not sure how he's going to be able to deal with Hunter Dickinson. That's why I think the game plan today, especially with Devontae Jones being out, for Juwan Howard is going to be feed it to Hunter Dickinson, run the offense completely through him. Listen, if you're betting on this game, I would look at the Hunter Dickinson over-under and I would smash the over because he is going to be Michigan's main form of offense today. And like you said, when you look at the defense that Colorado State's going to have in terms of height, I think it sets up perfectly for Hunter Dickinson.
Michigan's starting lineup features the usual guys: Caleb Houston, Eli Brooks, Moussa Diabate, Hunter Dickinson, and as you mentioned, Devontae Jonesless Wolverines. They'll start Frankie Collins. Ladies and gentlemen, this is his first collegiate start, and it comes in the first round of the NCAA tournament. What a spotlight on number 10 in Amazing Blue.
Yeah, what a time to get your first start. I mean, it's unbelievable to think that Frankie's going to be starting this game, but I think all Michigan fans are happy for him. Everyone thinks that it's not too big of a stage for Frankie Collins. He's shown many flashes throughout this season of absolute brilliance. The question for him has been and will still be, can he hit his shots? Because his mid-range and his three-point shot simply isn't very good. So we'll see how Colorado State defends that, because I would not be surprised at all if Kendall Moore just completely backs off.
Head coaches are now being introduced. Juwan Howard, of course, for the Wolverines in his second game back from his 5-game suspension following the game in Madison, Wisconsin. Nico Medved is the head coach for Colorado State in his 4th season. 20-8 last year, led the team to the NIT. And let's go Blue Chants now ringing around Gainbridge Fieldhouse. Great crowds from both sides, as you can hear during the starting lineups. Michigan and Colorado State. What a game we have in front of us. Ann Arbor against Fort Collins. Mountain West against Big Ten. There are a lot of Big Ten teams in the tournament, Neil. Who do you expect to go the furthest?
Man, that's
Michigan out of the conversation.
That is a tough question. I'm not going to lie. These Big Ten teams in the past have really let me down in my bracket predictions, so I've kind of avoided them this year, to be honest. But I think Iowa could go pretty far. I know that's been a popular pick for a lot of people to actually reach the Final Four from that region. I'm not as high on them. I think Purdue could be a big dark horse in this tournament. They're the sort of team that either loses in the second round or goes all the way. Who knows? So Purdue, definitely watch out for them. But, man, I'm just so happy that this is the beginning of March, baby. Love March Madness. This is going to be a fantastic game, fantastic tournament, and it's great to have the fans fully back now.
Well, David Roddy will be jumping against Hunter Dickinson, and you're right. If you wanted a starting linebacker to play against the Wolverines in the fall, which Colorado State will be traveling to Ann Arbor for that first game, David Roddy will probably be your starting middle linebacker for the brand. The Seven Nation Army now plays here at Gainbridge, and you know that might be one of the songs that Michigan loves to play, as it's Roddy and Dickinson. Let's start off March Madness right, Wolverines. The tip goes in favor of the Maize and Blue. Let's get started. Frankie Collins, his first collegiate start to Musa Diabate at the top of the point against David Roddy. Works with his dribble, puts it up off the glass, no good. Rebound down to Roddy, that's his first. And here comes the Rams with Isaiah Stevens leading the point. It's a 5-out offense for Colorado State. They'll play 4 around the perimeter and Deshaun Thomas on the inside. Thomas now comes up to the pick, and he'll hand to Roddy at the top of the key. He'll be followed by Musa Diabate all afternoon. He steps back for a triple try off front rim. Dickinson grabs the rebound. Here comes the Wolverines and Frankie Collins. Hair flowing in the wind. Looks down to Kendall Moore. Gives to Houston. Just inside the three-point arc. Collins inside for Musa Diabate against Roddy. Musa loses his dribble. Back outside. Brooks at the left wing. To Diabate right inside the left wing. Inside the three-point arc. Falls on the ground. It goes to Kendall Moore and Colorado State. Dribbling up the floor a little bit wobbly. Stevens inside to Roddy. He'll work inside to Diabate. Roddy back outside. Stevens from the right wing decides not to pull to Deshaun Thomas, who's looking for a pick and roll. Stevens top of the key, 15 on the timer for CSU. To Deshaun Thomas, the forward to try a 3, and it's pure.
Well, and that's going to be an issue today because, like you said, it's a 5-out lineup that Colorado State runs. Hunter Dickinson is going to have to get ready for these 3-point attempts because Colorado State's going to be taking that all day, and it doesn't matter if it's Deshaun Thomas or Kendall Moore. Every single one of these guys can shoot.
The forward shoots 38% from deep, a lot like Hunter Dickinson, who has the ball right now going into the post. Ball out of bounds. It will remain with the Wolverines.
Yeah, and well, this is an interesting start right now. Obviously, just 2 minutes in here, but I think Juwan should be trying to ease Frankie Collins into this game, trying to feed Hunter Dickinson more. We'll see if they go to that now.
The inbound goes to Eli Brooks, to Caleb Houston at the free throw line extended. Here's Dickinson in the post, his first try against Deshaun Thomas. Dickinson working into a double team, floats it up and in. Michigan's first bucket in March Madness, down 3-2, 2 minutes into the ball game.
Oh my goodness, being 7 foot tall certainly helped that one out. He had 2 guys on him, just put it up right over them.
Comes Isaiah Stevens probing. He gives to Roddy. This is a mismatch. Roddy's got one against Brooks right now, heading into the post. Dickinson comes over for the help. A high floating shot arcs through, and it's 5-2 with Colorado State.
And that's lazy help by Hunter Dickinson. He's got to come more aggressively in there.
Eli Brooks off the glass with the contact, count it, and 1. The foul will go against Isaiah Stevens, and Michigan's got a chance to tie it up with 7:44 to go in the first half.
Yeah, and speaking of Eli Brooks, by the way, he's going to be a guy that if Michigan's going to have a deep run in this tournament, Eli Brooks is going to need a big tournament because he's the most experienced guy of all of this team. He's been here before. He's done it before, being a, 5th, 6th year senior. So Eli Brooks needs a big tournament.
Michigan crowd trying to stay in this thing. Isaiah Stevens pulls a wide open three, and that's watered down. 8-5 Colorado State. They got to have better help defense on the 5 out. That's how they get their opportunities. 8-5 CSU. Here comes Michigan settling into their offense. Hunter Dickinson at the top of the post. The Frankie Collins left wing dumps inside Dickinson off glass. No good. Rebound to Diabate. He kicks outside. Eli Brooks a wide open triple try. No good. Rebound Caleb Houston on the offensive glass. He's up and in. Great job by the Wolverines on the old glass. 2 of them lead to 2 points.
Strong play by the freshman right there. Speaking of guys who need a big game, it sounds like I'm saying everybody needs a big game, which is kind of true. But Caleb Houston,
March.
Exactly. Caleb Houston specifically too. He's struggled this season, but he's shown some flashes as well.
Tanjay hasn't seen much of the ball so far. He drives in on Diabate to the left elbow, and he instead kicks it back outside to Moore. 5 on the timer. Eli Brooks, great defense. Tanjay.
Oh, my.
Blocked away by Dickinson, and here comes Eli Brooks and the Wolverines. Brooks over to Houston, left wing, triple try, off back iron, no good. Rebound to CSU and Tanjay. Stevens races across the timeline, into contact from Brooks, no foul, and that might be a flop warning at the next media timeout. Deshaun Thomas outside Stevens to Roddy, almost knocked away by Diabate, gives to Thomas. That one's knocked away by Dickinson, but it's over to Tanjay, defended by Collins, to Thomas, to Roddy. Roddy at the left wing, steps back, gives to Thomas. He'll try a triple, and he got it. Wow.
And it's an interesting stroke by Deshaun Thomas. It looks like, it's a really quick release at the top of the arc right there. He almost kind of makes you think that he's not going to actually take the shot. So it's tough to guard at times, but Hunter Dickinson's got to be on top of that.
Frankie Collins from the left wing. Backs it out to Houston, dumps inside for Dickinson. He's defended by Thomas, into contact from Roddy. Ball's on the ground. Roddy takes it away, and here comes Moore for Colorado State. A 4-point advantage for CSU. Media timeout at the next whistle. Playing good ball reversal. Isaiah Stevens has it against Dickinson. To Tanjay. Stevens, a deep three-pointer. He got it. Wow. Colorado State is just firing away from 3 right now, and they've got a 7-point lead.
Well, if you didn't get the idea that this team can shoot, I mean, already, what is that, 3-4 threes made? My goodness.
Dickinson at the post. He works inside. Strong left hand. 5 minutes into the game. It's now a 5-point advantage for Colorado State, 14-9. Michigan's got to settle into a defense, be a bit more aggressive on the help. Around the screen goes Stevens. He backs it out. He's against Dickinson. He can pull. Stevens. Pump fakes. To the post, outside. This is Moore for 3. That's long. Airballed. Ball's on the ground. Colorado State's got it in between the legs of Diabate to Deshaun Thomas, who misses long. Diabate finally caroms the rebound. Diabate running the point will give it away to Collins at the left wing. Around a Dickinson screen. Outside to Brooks at the right wing. Now Collins at the top of the key. Dickinson, a 3-point try from the left wing. It's long. Rebound falls down to Tanjay. There's the first foul of the game. It's against Diabate. And that'll take us to the media timeout. Just a reminder, this broadcast of the NCAA Division I Men's Basketball Championship is authorized under broadcast rights granted by the NCAA through Westwood One. It is intended solely for the private, non-commercial use of our audience. Any reproduction, transmission, or other use of this broadcast without the express written consent of the NCAA and Westwood One is strictly prohibited. So a 14-9 lead for Colorado State at the under-16 timeout here in the first half. What do you make of these first couple of minutes, Neil?
Well, this has been a perfect start for Colorado State. I mean, they're following the exact formula that they've done all season that has gotten them to this point of shooting threes and making them. I mean, this is a great three-point shooting team, and that's the reason why, by the way, a lot of people have not just predicted them to win this game, but possibly even beat Tennessee or whoever they play in the second round. Because when you make threes like this at this high of a clip, it doesn't really matter who you're playing. You're going to win your games. And so Michigan, frankly, I got to be honest, it seems like they're a little underprepared so far because Hunter Dickinson and Moussa Diabate, and I understand they're not usually used to playing these type of teams, but they're simply not guarding the perimeter like they should. It's been twice now, I think, one on Hunter Dickinson and one on Moussa Diabate, that they left a shooter wide open from 3, and, well, they paid for it. So Michigan's got to clean that up. I'll also say for Colorado State, I think they're giving a little too much leeway to Hunter Dickinson right now because if he gets going, he will take Michigan not just to win this game, but I mean, who knows where they'll go. Point is, Colorado State's been slacking a little bit on the interior defense because Dickinson's gotten a couple buckets down there, and then even from three, they didn't even guard him. Deshaun Thomas did not step out on the three, and he was lucky that Dickinson's shot just rimmed out. So the Rams are going to have to watch out for that. But other than that, I mean, it's been a fantastic start for Colorado State.
A 14-9 lead for the Rams, shooting 4 of 6 from downtown. And who knows if that'll be sustainable. But if it is, those are the kind of numbers that will get you further into this NCAA tournament. You and I talked about it pregame, that there are a couple teams in this tournament that can shoot it really well, namely an upset candidate, Colgate over Wisconsin. Teams like that can shoot the three ball really that well have a great chance to advance, and Colorado State's doing just that so far at the under 16.
Most definitely, most definitely. Another team to throw out there real quick too is South Dakota State. They are the best three-point shooting team in the country in terms of three-point percentage. They don't take that many shots, surprisingly, but man, oh man, do they make them. So that'll be a very interesting game coming up at 12:40 against Providence. But yeah, I mean, listen, this Colorado State team, we said at the top, they shoot and they shoot and they shoot. I mean, it's a 5-out lineup. They're not afraid of it. And so Michigan's got to start guarding it. We'll see the adjustments that Juwan Howard makes. It's interesting because Juwan and this Michigan team, they like to show zone a lot on some defensive possessions. They show zone and then switch into a man halfway through the possession. I'm not sure that will really work against this Colorado State team because, as most people know, when you go zone, it's a lot easier to find open three-point shots. So I'm not sure what the adjustments will be right here for Michigan.
2 substitutions for the Rams. 3. James Morris, Chandler Jacobs, and Isaiah Rivera. And for the Wolverines, Brandon Johns Jr., his first appearance in the NCAA tournament. Rivera has it at the right wing against the Michigan zone. It's a 3-2. And now they'll duck back into a 2-3. Top of the key, Chandler Jacobs will now work over to Rivera.
And there's the switch to man, by the way.
Under 5 to shoot now. Stevens pulls up in the face of Eli Brooks off front iron. Offensive rebound to Colorado State and Moores. Hunter Dickinson, a poor job of boxing out. Moores will go into contact from Dickinson at the left post. Blocked away. That's a second block now. And a deep pass out for Chandler Jacobs. Colorado State will reset with 10. Stevens gets a pick from Moores. Man defense for the Wolverines. Stevens backing up. Gives out to Rivera, who steps back for 3 at the buzzer. Can't find the bottom of the rim. And it's a shot clock violation. Wonderful job by Michigan on technically 2 of those possessions on the end of the floor to get him down late in the shot clock.
Well, and there was the exact adjustment that I was talking about right before. They show zone for the first 10-ish seconds of the possession and then immediately switch to man. And I think it confused Colorado State there, so we'll see if they go back to it.
Frankie Collins has done a good job so far of running this offense. Dickinson at the left post. Outside Frankie Collins, he really won't try that shot, but Houston will from the top of the key, hits off the front of the rim. Rebound will come down to Moores and Colorado State after being tipped by Johns. Stevens, Tarati to Rivera in the corner, defended by Houston. Tarati to Moores. Back to Roddy left wing. Looking for a cutting Stevens, doesn't get him. Chandler Jacobs will pull that shot from the right wing. He pulls up from the elbow, and the rebound comes down to Colorado State and Roddy. Roddy into contact from Brandon Johns, has the ball tipped but falls in by Hunter Dickinson.
Wow.
16-9.
The strength of David Roddy is unbelievable. I mean, he just shoved off Brandon Johns there and got the easy bucket. That was nice.
Michigan got to play a bit more physical as Eli Brooks now turns the ball over looking for a dump into Dickinson. Here comes Stevens in Colorado State. Jacobs at the right wing to the free throw line and will dribble around a Moore screen. Moore's at the top of the keys. Less of a threat than Dijon Thomas to shoot that ball. Here's Rivera in the corner. He'll go into Johns and draw a double team. Back out to Moore's to Jacobs at the top of the key. Jacobs to the elbow. Outside to Stevens. Into Moore's at the left. Moore's under 5 to shoot. Knocked away. Caleb Houston's got it for the Wolverines. He'll settle down the offense for Michigan. And 22 will dribble the ball up the floor at the March Madness logo. Eli Brooks, left wing, decides not to pull the three-pointer. Gets a screen from Dickinson. Will now dump it inside to Hunter. Off the glass and in. He wasn't even looking at the rim, and number 1 just put it in.
Yeah, I was a little surprised, though, that Eli Brooks didn't take that three. He looked wide open, but had some clear hesitations about it.
Roddy hands off to Jacobs. They're playing a deep offense right now. Free throw line extended left wing for Stevens. Stevens inside to Roddy. Expect a double team to come if he drives the baseline. Instead, a cross-court pass. Jacobs at wide open. 3, missed it. Rebound will come down to Colorado State. It went right through 3 Wolverines. and it was taken by Rivera. Roddy will try a left wing three, and that will fall in and out. Wow, it was halfway down and decided to pop right back out in favor of Michigan. Here comes Collins, who grabbed the rebound. Caleb Houston inside the paint, lost it, out of bounds, Michigan basketball. And just like that, we'll hit the under 12 timeout. Michigan not playing all that aggressive, down 16-11, but the three-pointers we mentioned, was that sustainable for Colorado State? They've missed two since we talked about it.
Yeah, and I think for Colorado State, frankly, it's a very encouraging sign right now that David Roddy has just 4 of their 16 points, because this is the guy who, when they need to, will absolutely take over these games. I mean, if you've seen any of the Colorado State games, David Roddy is easily capable of taking over games. He goes absolutely crazy at the end of the second half and in a lot of their recent games. This is a guy who's averaging 19.5 points. And so if I'm Medved right now and I see that Roddy has just 4 of our 16 points for Colorado State, you have to be pretty happy because you're going to get that production later in the game anyways. So if your other guys are stepping it up like Stevens, you're in good shape. As far as Michigan, I thought the adjustment that Juwan made briefly of going to that zone was a good adjustment. I think they'll probably be doing that sparingly throughout the game because, like I said, you don't usually go to zone against a good three-point shooting team. But we'll see because, like I said, they like going into zone and then switch to man halfway through the possession.
I'm certainly not going to be trying to hit the broadcaster's jinx here, but CSU is now one of their last 9 field goals from the floor, many of those being three-pointers. Athletes on the floor are 4 of 10. Stevens has 2. The team is 4 of 10. Stevens is 2 of 3, though, and he missed his last one. But Michigan doing a not so great job of closing out on the three-point line. We keep reiterating that the three-point try for Colorado State is really what's bolstering them into the lead. And if you hit 4 of them, you add it up, that's 12 points. And Michigan has 11 because they're playing inside. They haven't taken many threes, but when they do, they've been good chances for Michigan on their end of the offensive side.
Yeah, I got to be honest. This game doesn't even feel like a 5-point game. It feels like Colorado State should be up by about 10 right now. They've missed a couple freebies. They've had 2 threes that just completely rimmed out. And Roddy's I think he had 1 shot down low in the post that also rimmed out. And so Michigan's a little lucky right now that they're only down 5. And I'll also say with this Colorado State team, the Wolverines are going to need to stay within 6, 7-ish points, I think, the whole game if they want to have a chance at the end. Because once it hits that 7 or 8 point mark, I think Colorado State could blow this thing wide open. So Michigan's going to have to be on top of that. Again, I'm not sure what they do defensively to adjust for these 3-point shooters. It looks like Roddy will be subbing off. That's an interesting thing to note, by the way, because Roddy, the last 10 games for Colorado State, is averaging about 35 minutes. That is insane. I mean, he's literally sitting on the bench for just 5 minutes a game in their big-time game. So, and you'd expect him only to be there for probably about a minute or two. So if I'm Michigan and I see that, Juwan's got to be yelling at his guys to take advantage and try to maybe tie this thing up before Roddy comes back.
Now, I'm interested to see what Michigan does here with Kobe Buffkin substituting Frankie Collins out of the game. I would expect a lot of in and out action here into the game for Colorado State. John Tonje does replace David Roddy. So here's Michigan's chance if you want to get inside the paint. Small lineup for Colorado State. Tallest man out there, James Morris from Auckland, New Zealand. Stands at 6'10". Dickinson will try to back down Morris. A cross-court pass to Brooks. Brooks at the left wing gives to Buffkin in the corner. He lost it out of bounds. Colorado State ball. And that's a freshman mistake in his first 15 seconds of being on the floor.
Yeah, and we're already seeing a little bit of the inexperience for the Wolverines. We saw a little bit of it with Caleb Houston earlier, taking some ill-advised shots, and now Kobe Buffkin here. Kobe Buffkin's another guy that, if he can just put together a good game for Michigan, that would be very, very helpful for this team.
Terrence Williams comes to the stand. There's an offensive foul. Eli Brooks did a good job of going around Morris. David Roddy gets back on his feet, but will take a seat back down. And we're going to be watching him, whether or not he comes into the game. He plays a lot, and he'll get a well-deserved breather for Colorado State. Terrence Williams into the game. To the bench goes Caleb Houston. And there's an offensive foul going in favor of Colorado State. It's against Brandon John, so back-to-back offensive fouls on both ends of the floor. 2 fouls on each team.
Do you think Michigan looks a little out of it right now? Because I don't know if it's just me, but they look very out of it. Like
They do
they're
look
not.
a little lackadaisical as to how to stop Colorado State's 5 out. Moore's a cross-court pass to Jacobs at the top of the key. To Moore's at the free throw line over to the right elbow. Tanjay drives the lane into Dickinson. Will take a fadeaway shot. Falls off the front of the rim. Dickinson the rebound. Here comes Terrence Williams in Michigan. T. Will now back it out. Michigan will get into the offense for Eli Brooks. Top of the key screen from Dickinson. Dump to Dickinson. To the free throw line. Dumps inside. Johns thrown out of bounds. This was Michigan's issue against Indiana on this exact floor a couple days ago. They just kept turning the ball over. They didn't score for 12 straight minutes in the Big Ten second round.
Yeah, already 6 turnovers in 10 minutes. I mean, that would be averaging about 24 turnovers a game. That's not good. Michigan's going to have to figure that out.
10 minutes to go. Michigan trails by 5. Stevens pulls up from the baseline off the front of the rim. Rebound goes to Brooks. No one really aggressive.
Nice pass.
Nice pass to Buffkin, who missed the easy bunny. And here comes Colorado State. Michigan's got to lock in right now. Jacobs to the post, off the glass and in. Juwan Howard, I'm taking a timeout. I'm talking to this team.
That's a 4-point swing right there. You miss the layup. Colorado State comes right back and makes a layup of their own.
David Roddy goes back to the table. 18-11 is the lead for Colorado State. Eli Brooks takes a wide open jumper. Can't find bottom. Rebound Dickinson off the glass. Grabs the foul. Shot's no good.
And yeah, I'm telling you, I think they look a little lackadaisical, like you said. It just seems that Michigan's a little out of it right now in this game. And, that'll happen for teams. But when that happens, you got to rely on your stars to step it up. So Hunter Dickinson, as he's at the free throw line right now, he needs to step it up and bring some life into this team.
The first one falls through. Well done by Hunter. And Musa Diabate stays at the scorer's table. 3 different substitutions. Colorado State, Kendall Moore, David Roddy, and the first action for Jalen Lake. Diabate will take over for Dickinson if he makes this free throw here. It's a 6-point game. Colorado State 18, Michigan 12. Here's a second from Hunter. Pure. And it's now a 5-point advantage. 9:25 to go here in the first half. The point will be run by Kendall Moore as he crosses the timeline at the March Madness logo to Roddy. And Roddy's got a mismatch against Michigan's zone right now in Buffkin. It's a wide open 3-point try for Jalen Lake. Off the front of the rim, coming down with the rebound is Johns. And here comes Eli Brooks for the Wolverines and perhaps one of his final games wearing the maize and blue. Johns Jr., top of the key to Buffkin at the elbow. Buffkin wheels around, tries to find his way inside the paint. Tipped. Johns grabs it back outside Buffkin. Michigan has to settle down. 10 on the shot clock. 8:50 to play. Eli Brooks, 7 on the timer. Brooks into contact, turns the ball over into the hands of Kendall Moore.
Yeah, this is tough to watch for Michigan right now. Offensively, they're just not in sync at all.
Michigan, at some point, you expect will have to hit their stride, right? David Roddy from the left elbow, defended by Diabate. Here is Chandler Jacobs, back to Roddy. Over in the corner for Lake. Michigan switching on every pass. Tanjay, a deep 3-point try off the front of the rim again. Man, the front of the rim has not been kind to Colorado State. 18-13 is the advantage. Here's Michigan and Brooks. Yeah, Michigan is just playing a really slow offensive pace. Johns back to Brooks. Gets a screen from Diabate. Brooks in the corner for Johns. Gets it inside to Musa. Musa at the post. Gets stuck. Outside for Brooks to T-Will into the corner for Buffkin with 5 on the timer. Buffkin's got to go. He pulls up from 3. He can't find the bottom. And the rebound goes to Colorado State. Man, this is some ugly offense to watch on both ends.
Yeah, and Colorado State clearly is very well prepared for this Michigan team because every time the Wolverines feed Diabate or Hunter Dickinson in the post, there's immediately 2 guys switching onto them on the baseline. And then Michigan doesn't know what to do once that happens.
David Roddy against Terrence Williams. It's time for number 5 to step up. 10 on the timer. Into the corner for Tanjay. Tanjay into contact. A nice reverse layup. Doesn't fall. Terrence Williams will race the other way for the Wolverines. He tries to dump it inside to Johns, and here the other way goes Chandler Jacobs, who will dump it through with 2 hands. Timeout, Michigan.
Yeah, Juwan Howard has had enough of this. This is just awful, awful offensive basketball right now by Michigan. I mean, they are just extremely sloppy. And if we have any Colorado State listeners, Michigan maybe hasn't been a great team this year, but they haven't been this bad offensively. Honestly, I don't think I've seen a game like this offensively for Michigan yet, because it's just turnover after turnover. They have 8 right now, and we still have 7 minutes left in this first half. This is just unbelievable. But like I said, Colorado State came very well prepared for this game. Every time the Wolverines are feeding it in the post, you have David Roddy and another guy switching over on the baseline. And then when Michigan gets the extra passes on the wings, Colorado State immediately switches back. And so, yeah, I don't know. Michigan's really struggling right now. Eli Brooks has had no handle on this game. Frankie Collins, even though he's starting, hasn't really played too much. And so I think the Wolverines just need a spark from somebody because if they can get that, they'll be right back in this game.
And I want to make a note, too. There's a lot of media stuff that's going on at the NCAA tournament. Juwan Howard was pulled aside there a second ago to talk to the CBS crew. And Phil Martelli, who took over for 5 games where Michigan went 3-2, was taking over inside the huddle. And if you're Phil Martelli, now Juwan Howard sits down with his team, what are you telling to your guys to get them to go here in this first half? 7:16 to play, down by 7.
I think I just tell them to calm down because honestly, offensively, they just look absolutely frantic right now. I mean, guys like Eli Brooks, they're just chucking the ball around and hoping that their passes land with the Mays jersey. And so they're being just extremely lackadaisical. That's like the third time I've said this already, but with these passes, I mean, they're simply not looking them through. And so if I'm Martelli, if I'm Juwan Howard, tell them to calm down. Just go back to what is Michigan basketball, which is a slower pace, but you make smart, surgical passes that eventually find open shooters. So stick to the game plan, and I think they need to get Hunter Dickinson going because, like we said, Devontae Jones isn't playing. Guys like Caleb Houston have been struggling as of recently. Hunter Dickinson has to be your go-to guy, and it looks like he's not. He's standing outside the close huddle, so I don't think he's going to be subbing in, but yeah, they just need a spark. It doesn't matter if it's Dickinson, doesn't matter who it is. They just need somebody to get it going.
You're right. I think maybe just seeing one shot go down right now could be the fuel for Michigan to get something done. And Caleb Houston is back in for Michigan. He's sitting down inside the huddle. Maybe it's him. You mentioned him earlier in the broadcast. Well, Michigan's currently in a scoring drought of 2 minutes and about 10 seconds. Who do you turn to right now if Hunter Dickinson is not in the game to get your scoring to go through the roof? Because Michigan really needs that.
Honestly, I think you try to go to Moussa Diabate. He's had a few games this year that he has just been fantastic in. I mean, there was that Iowa game on the road at Iowa in which Moussa Diabate had 28 points. Frankly, he was the only reason they won that game. So I think it's Diabate. I think Terrence Williams could be an option here too. He's had a couple big-time games for the Wolverines. I think it was the Ohio State game, right, that he had about 18 points. So Terrence Williams, he has the capability of getting it going. He's a much better three-point shooter than he was last year. And so, yeah, it's got to be one of those two guys, in my opinion.
Michigan will now be facing a full-court press from Colorado State. They said, well, we can get the ball turned over in their own offensive zone. Let's do it in our defensive zone. Eli Brooks finally gets the ball across the timeline for the Wolverines. 15 on the timer. Lufkin with the reversal to Terrence Williams, top of the key. Gives the Diabate at the left elbow. He loses the ball. 8 on the shot clock for Michigan. Got to get going. Here's Eli Brooks around the screen, pulls up from the elbow. Can't get the shot to fall. Rebound to Diabate. Nice board. Oh, and it's going the other way. That's a foul against Diabate.
Fouls ball on number 14, Musa Diabate.
I'm not. I got to be honest. I saw, and Jawan's got to be careful here because he can't keep stepping outside his coach's box as the ref is telling him to walk back. But I saw Musa's arms go up, and so I immediately thought over the back, but the way that he landed, it didn't seem like he pushed off somebody. They might be looking at it. I have no clue.
And now we might be going to a media timeout again, and the referees will be taking a look at this one over at the scorer's table. And Musa came down with an offensive rebound. It looked like he was kind of being pulled away from the basket, but we didn't get a great view on it. So we were kind of hoping that they would throw it up on the scoreboard, but during the media timeout, we're not going to be that lucky. Michigan over their last 4. They haven't made a basket here in 2.5 minutes. And if you're a Michigan fan hearing that, you probably hear, oh, Lord, here's another 10 minutes of no scoring after the Indiana game last week where they went 12 straight minutes without a bucket. And essentially the reason why they lost that game, they had the lead almost throughout the whole thing. And then all of a sudden, 3 minutes left, IU took the lead and didn't look back. They hit the free throws, hit a couple of clutch shots, and that was that.
Yeah, and that was an awful game by the Wolverines. I mean, I haven't seen that sort of breakdown from a Michigan team in a long time, because there's been some very good, very well coached Michigan basketball teams, but that was not the case on last Thursday. And Indiana's a good team, don't get me wrong, but are they a team that Michigan should be allowing to come back from 17 down? No way. Actually, frankly, is there any team that Michigan should be allowing to come back from 17 down? Absolutely not. So, yeah, I mean, honestly, like you said, this game, the start of this reminds me a little bit of that game. Offensively, they're just so out of sync right now and turning the ball over nonstop.
Happy St. Patrick's Day, everybody. March 17th here in Indianapolis. Zach Linfield here with Neil Sinha. Michigan and Colorado State, 11 and 6 seeds. Here's a quick seed fact for you. Since 2010, 6 seeds are just 21 and 23 against seeds that are number 11. And like we said, a lot of criticism towards Michigan and Juwan Howard for making this tournament, especially ranked over a couple of their Big Ten competitors, namely Indiana and Rutgers. Indiana won in their first 4 matchup on Tuesday. Rutgers lost their matchup in double overtime last night to the Fighting Irish of Notre Dame, and I think that was just out of pure luck for Notre Dame, turning into St. Patty's Day during double overtime. And I think the luck of the Irish went their way.
Yeah, no, one thing I'll comment on briefly, and I'll try to be brief because when the selection committee was coming out with their picks and everybody was going after Michigan that I couldn't stand, is that everyone was saying, well, why isn't Indiana a higher seed than Michigan? Why is Indiana in the first 4 and Michigan isn't? Well, folks, you have to realize the season doesn't rely on the conference tournaments at all. It relies on the regular season mainly, and Michigan had a better overall resume. They were better in every single advanced metric than Indiana and a bunch of these other teams. That's why they're an 11 seed.
Colorado State's got the basketball. It's David Roddy against Terrence Williams. The double team comes. Well done by Kobe Buffkin. Roddy throws a shot off the side of the backboard. Tanjay will drive against Terrence Williams and scoop and score with the left hand. Hunter Dickinson has not been very good on the defensive end of things today.
Yeah, and we'll see if they try to go to him here offensively. It seems like he hasn't touched the ball in a long time.
He just checked back into the game. Eli Brooks dumps to Dickinson, who has Roddy on his right hip. Roddy will knock it out of bounds. Ball to Michigan. And Hunter Dickinson, he's just playing a little lazy, it seems like, for the Wolverines right now, before and after he checked out.
Yeah, Hunter Dickinson and the rest of the Michigan players. I mean, it's March Madness, guys. Let's get it going. I'll also say I think David Roddy did his scouting report very well on Hunter Dickinson because he is leaning on that left shoulder for Dickinson, making it very hard for him to turn around.
Houston gets the ball in bounds. Buffkin to the left post. He traveled with it. That's the 3rd turnover now on Buffkin since he came into the game, and Frankie Collins immediately to the table. Colorado State only averages 10 turnovers a game. Michigan, they've turned the ball over quite a lot already. 9 turnovers, and there's 6 minutes remaining in the first half. If they don't turn this around soon, Colorado State's going to go into halftime with a big advantage.
And here's that little zone look. We'll see if they switch into the man in a second. Yes, they do right here.
Jalen Lake controls it from the top of the key. A pass to Kendall Moore. Deshaun Thomas to Roddy for a 3-pointer. Got it.
A smart play by the Rams right there. Deshaun Thomas set a screen right in front of David Roddy to have a wide open 3-point shot, and he made it look easy.
Now, I don't think the term wake up could be used any better here for Michigan. Frankie Collins from the right wing to Terrence Williams at the top of the key to Eli Brooks, who wants to go inside to Dickinson. Instead, floats it back to the corner for Houston. Give me that. Can't get it to fall. Rebound to Stevens, over to Roddy, who's got a one-on-one against Terrence Williams. Roddy, nice dribbling. Nice pass. Deshaun Thomas, a 3-pointer. Got it. Colorado State can't miss from 3, folks.
And this is what we said at the top of the broadcast, by the way. Once Colorado State gets up about 7 or 8 points, they have the ability to blow this thing wide open. Well, now it's a 15-point game.
Frankie Collins, left wing, doesn't know where to go with the ball. Instead, goes into Dickinson, out of bounds, Michigan's ball. And there will be a foul against Deshaun Thomas, who now has 4 3-pointers. And you'd like to hear the other side, Michigan center going for 4 3-pointers, but Deshaun Thomas has 12. Excuse me, he has 9. Last 3-pointer didn't go to Deshaun Thomas, but here's Frankie Collins inside the lane, off the glass, and 1. Michigan needed that bucket. And was that on the floor or in the air? 1 set in the air. and now they'll count the basket.
Yeah, I definitely thought that was just a continuation right there. But man, I mean, the Michigan fans are dead silent right now because I think everybody's shocked what's going on. But this is a good Colorado State team. I know a lot of people thought just because, they're not very well known, they're from the Mountain West Conference, that they're not a good team. But that's not the case at all. This is a very good Colorado State Rams team, and they came to play so far in this first half.
Frankie Collins, who is only a 45% free throw shooter, puts it through. It's now a 12-point advantage for Colorado State here in the first round of the NCAA tournament. And David Roddy will dribble the ball up, taken away by Collins. This should be an easy layup for number 10, and he'll dunk it through. How about Frankie Collins? And maybe that's a spark the Wolverines needed. 5 points in 15 seconds, and the Michigan crowd's to their feet.
How do you make that look so easy? I know Frankie has bounced, but my goodness, has got up easy there.
Defense chance for the Michigan fans. They need to get some energy up for their squad. Frankie Collins was in the dunk contest in Michigan Madness earlier in the season. Ball goes out of bounds. It will remain with Colorado State, but nice hands from Eli Brooks. 10 on the timer here for Colorado State with 4:11 to play. It's a 10-point lead for CSU.
And it seems like literally just in the span of the last minute, the energy has increased like crazy for Michigan. The fans are starting to chant defense. This is a good sign.
Now you need to stop. 3-point try deep for Stevens. In and out. Rebound Dickinson. This is a big opportunity for Michigan here. Eli Brooks races the other way. Dribbles with the left hand to the left wing for Terrence Williams. T-Will drives. Hands off the glass. There's a foul on Roddy. That'll be the team's 6th. Michigan will be 1 away from the bonus during the next CSU foul, but this brings us to a media timeout. And now they're going to say that was on the floor, and Michigan will have the ball to begin after the under 4. So, Neil, a quick bolt of energy into Michigan. Maybe that's all they needed to get back into this game. It's still a 10-point advantage for CSU, but the effort on defense looked a lot better after that takeaway from Frankie Collins.
Most definitely. I think Frankie Collins, when they went into that little pressure 5, as Juwan calls it, which is pretty much just a full court press, it was a great switch because Frankie Collins was on David Roddy, who was bringing the ball up, which maybe wasn't the best decision for Colorado State because Roddy doesn't have the best of handles, and just picked his pocket, got an easy 2, and immediately, 5 points in the span of about 10 seconds. So an immediate bolt of energy or jolt of energy for the Wolverines right there. We've been saying they just need a spark from somewhere, and it certainly feels like they might have just gotten that.
Michigan is 0 of 6 from three-point land. A couple of attempts from Caleb Houston, Eli Brooks, Kobe Buffkin, and Hunter Dickinson. They still haven't made one free throw line. They're 4 for 4, though. Colorado State has not attempted a free throw in this game. 3 fouls on Michigan, 6 on Colorado State. And a 10-point advantage for the Rams from Fort Collins, Colorado. They finished 2nd in the Mountain West Conference behind Boise State. They didn't play an AP top 25 team this season, but they were 2 common games or teams that Michigan played against this season along with Colorado State. That was San Diego State and UNLV. Michigan beat both of those teams in the non-conference schedule. And Colorado State lost to UNLV twice and went 1-2 against SDSU, but those common opponents were a long time ago. CSU is a much different team since.
Oh, definitely. And one thing I will say with Colorado State, by the way, that you touched on there briefly, is that they've played some good teams this year. I mean, they have played quite a few tournament teams. The Mountain West Conference had 4 teams in the tournament. So, it's not a bad conference by any means. Wyoming is a solid team. I know they just got knocked out 2 days ago to Indiana, but they were a solid team. San Diego State is a pretty solid 8 seed. And then, of course, you have Boise State, who will be playing Memphis in about, I believe, like an hour. So it's a good conference. Colorado State beat all of those teams. And so, this is a talented team. Obviously, I don't want to make any predictions or anything. I'm not saying Colorado State's going to win this game for sure. But if they do, I really believe that they match up well against Tennessee, who I know has been a very popular pick by many people to possibly make the Final Four from this South region.
Michigan as an 11 seed was the highest picked 11 seed to defeat a 6 seed in this tournament. It's really a Cinderella story if the team is a 6 seed if Colorado State were to win this game in advance. Your personal opinion.
I don't think so. I don't think so at all. Listen, if you had watched, for everybody who's seen Colorado State, it's clear it's a good team. And when you see Michigan, they have just been so darn inconsistent that I think Colorado State should have been favored going into this game. They looked like the better team throughout the season. But again, it's March Madness. All you need to do is be better in one game. It just takes a 40-minute span that you have to be better than the other team. You could be worse for the rest of the season, but that doesn't matter. You just need a one good game to beat up on these teams.
And I was wrong before the media timeout. Terrence Williams is shooting. It looked like that foul was on the floor. He got the first one, and he's got the second.
Yeah, I'm a little bit surprised by that. I definitely thought that was just a block, and it didn't look like T-Will was going up with that. But Juwan and the Wolverines will certainly take those 2 points.
And there comes Colorado State, and here come the Michigan fans. Isaiah Stevens around a screen from Deshaun Thomas, who will pull a three. He got another one, Neil.
Wow. And again, Hunter Dickinson, that is the 3rd time that he hasn't stepped out on the 3 and guarded it, and that's a killer, man, because Michigan had the momentum going.
Deshaun Thomas now has 4 3-pointers. That's their big guy, folks. Terrence Williams is caught with his dribble to Collins in the corner. He's not really a threat to take that shot, but Terrence Williams is from the left wing. Give me that. No good. Rebound falls down. Dickinson. Stevens grabs it for CSU. It looked like Hunter was in a great spot to grab it. The ball goes inside to Thomas. He wheels around the paint to Roddy in the corner. Deshaun Thomas, a 3-point try from the top of the key. Finally, he misses one, and the ball comes down to Collins and the Wolverines. 11-point lead for CSU. Collins,
Nice
beautiful dish to Houston, who lays it in.
Great backdoor cut by Caleb Houston. And, one thing that coaches always say when you're having a rough game or rough stretch of games is just start cutting. Even if your shot's not going down, if you make those type of backdoor cuts, you'll get buckets.
Roddy has thrown some beautiful passes.
That looked like a travel right there.
Got away with the travel. He's trapped in the corner. Ball out of bounds. Oh, no, it falls through the legs of a couple of Colorado State players to Kendall Moore for 3. He got it.
Wow.
If there was a luck statistic, that would have gone purely in the way of Colorado State. They can't miss from 3.
I have no clue what happened there. I mean, you got to play the Shacked in a Fool music right there because that was just a pinball machine. The ball was bouncing around everywhere, and lucky enough for the Rams, Kendall Moore had a wide open 3.
Here's Hunter Dickinson inside the paint with the left-hand floater that falls through. There's a timeout on the floor. Michigan trails by 10. You'd like to go into the locker room down, I'd say under 8. You'd feel comfortable if you're Michigan. 2:02 to play. There's a 30-second timeout on the floor.
And so one thing I'll say with Hunter Dickinson, by the way, that I noticed from that last bucket that he got is as a defender on Dickinson, when you line up against his right shoulder, you're asking for him to score because he's a left-handed guy. He doesn't really have as much of a right post hook as he does with his left hand. He relies on that nonstop. Earlier in the game, because we talked about it briefly, David Roddy and these other Colorado State players, when Dickinson got the ball in the post, lined up against the left shoulder for Dickinson, and he couldn't do a thing. He couldn't do a thing. And that's been an issue for Hunter Dickinson since last year in that UCLA game that he struggled big time in because the Bruins constantly just laid up against his left shoulder and didn't allow him to spin around to his left hand. So if you're a team watching Michigan or coming up with a scouting report, all you have to do with Dickinson, honestly, is shade that right shoulder or shade the left shoulder, and he'll really struggle.
Brandon Johns has checked in for Terrence Williams, who provided some good minutes without scoring. Pass inside to Jacobs. He wheels around to the left corner, defended by Dickinson. And he gives outside to Kendall Moore, who just hit a 3-pointer. Deshaun Thomas against Dickinson. Back to Moore, top of the key. Wheels his way to the right wing. He'll drive inside the paint. Lost his dribble. And it goes to Jacobs. And he stepped out of bounds. Michigan's basketball, 1:36 to play in the half.
Yeah, Colorado State, it looked like they might have gotten away with a double dribble or something there, too. But eventually Michigan gets the ball back.
Michigan quickly into the front court. Frankie Collins in the corner. Goes around a Dickinson screen. Backpedals his way past the free throw line. Now interjects himself inside the paint. Nice take by number 10. Frankie's got 2 more.
Wow, the explosiveness of Frankie Collins is just unbelievable. He is going to be a great player for this Michigan program in the next 2 years, I'm telling you.
Michigan crowd back to their feet. Roddy around a screen to Kendall Moore at the right wing to the top of the key. Over to Jacobs, back to the top of the key for Moore. Moore to Stevens. There's a threat to shoot the 3-pointer. Has Dickinson on him. He'll drive inside the paint, step back from the right elbow, and gets it to fall. 36-26. 1 minute remaining here in the first half. 20 on the shot clock for Michigan. Frankie Collins gives to Brooks. No three-pointers in the half for the Wolverines. Collins to Brandon John's left elbow. Dumps inside. Dickinson going to work with the right hand. Nice shot by Hunter Dickinson. It's an 8-point game.
And Colorado State will probably just waste this one all the way down, about a 4-second difference between the shot clock and game clock.
Isaiah Stevens controls. There will be a switch. Brooks will now cover against Stevens, and Frankie Collins goes over to cover more. So Stevens is just dribbling the ball right at the March Madness logo at half court. 10 on the timer. Calling for isolation. Over to Roddy, who will try a left wing triple. In and out. Ball down to Dickinson. Here comes Michigan. Eli Brooks across the timeline. He pulls a foul, and that will put Michigan into the bonus. You're the Wolverines. That is exactly what you wanted to end the half. And I told you, Neil, 8 points is the goal for Michigan heading into the half. They're down 8 here with 3.2 remaining in the first half. Michigan in the bonus for perhaps their best free throw shooter, Eli Brooks.
Yeah, that was an absolute cheapy foul by David Roddy. You can't foul a guy with 3.2 seconds left at half court. You simply can't. And I'll also say that's his second foul. That is a very important thing to watch out for David Roddy, because if Michigan can get him into foul trouble, that'll certainly help them out.
First free throw's good from Eli Brooks. 7-point game. Michigan's 90% free throw shooter, the fifth-year senior from Spring Grove, Pennsylvania. The second shot hits the front of the rim and can't fall. Roddy almost traveled with it. Here's a half-court heave from Jacobs, well short. And if you had CSU's luck, that ball was going to go in somehow from half court. With the score, Colorado State 36, Michigan 29. You're Michigan. I'd say you're pretty comfortable going into half, especially the way that Colorado State was shooting from 3 in that half.
Yeah, it's been a very weird game. I mean, usually in a full game, you would say it's a tale of two halves. It's almost been a tale of two quarters here, even though obviously I know there's not quarters. But the first, 10, 15 minutes of that first half, Colorado State completely had this on locks. They were dominating the game, up by 15 at one point. It was 28-13, and then boom. Michigan hit a three, and Frankie Collins got a steal on David Roddy at half court and got the easy layup. And so that immediately set things into motion for the Wolverines. It gave them the spark they needed. And to be down only 7 right now with how poorly they played in that first half, I think they have to be pretty happy with that.
As you mentioned, 36-29 is the lead for Colorado State over the Wolverines at halftime. This is a team that shoots 36% on the season. They're shooting 40% right now inside Gainbridge Fieldhouse, but you would think that they're hitting every single one of them. They've made 8 and they've attempted 20. When's the last time you saw a team take 43 pointers in an NCAA tournament game that isn't a super underdog? But Nishan Thomas, their center, has 4 of them.
Yeah, and that is so difficult to guard when, I do feel bad for Hunter Dickinson when he's a 7'1" center who obviously is not very laterally quick. And he has to guard Deshaun Thomas, man, who is just stroking it today. I mean, it's tough. And Juwan's got to be yelling at his guys right now, Moussa Diabate included, that they are going to have to be running nonstop. And I don't know if the conditioning of Hunter Dickinson is at that level to be ready for it, but they're going to need it.
Here from WCBN FM Ann Arbor, my name's Zach Linfield with Neil Sinha, and we're going to take about a 10-minute break and then come back and give you guys a little halftime scoop on what's going on inside Gainbridge Fieldhouse between the Wolverines and the Rams. Stay tuned, everybody. 20 minutes left. Michigan season on the line here from Indianapolis, trailing by 7 at halftime. We'll see you in a couple minutes, and go blue. Welcome back into Gainbridge Fieldhouse, everybody. Zach Linfield here with Neil Sinha to my left. Michigan trailing by 7 with about 9 minutes remaining before we resume play in the second half. 20 minutes left, perhaps, in Michigan's season, trailing by 7. Neil, your goals here for the second half for Michigan, what do they have to do to finally get over the hump? Is it making a three-pointer? Is it finally stopping the threes for Colorado State? What's your top one here?
Well, I think making a three-pointer would certainly be very helpful. I mean, they're 0 of 7. First of all, the fact that they've only taken 7 three-point attempts in that first half is mind-blowing. I mean, I love to talk about this ever since Juwan Howard's come to Michigan, but it's so interesting to see how much the Michigan team has changed from the past. If you remember in the John Beilein days, this team would live and die by the three. Like, they would take 25, 30 attempts a game, at least. I mean, they would just throw up the threes nonstop. That's completely changed with this Michigan team, and we've seen this a few times this season, that they have really struggled from three. But the fact that they've only taken 7 in that first half, and then on top of that they haven't made any, that's bad. And so I think that's the biggest thing. And, like we said earlier, it relies on guys like Caleb Houston, Eli Brooks, the usual suspects that Michigan fans have constantly been asking for to step up their game. So Caleb Houston, he needs a big second half. I think Moussa Diabate, the fact that he has a goose egg in that first half is also really surprising. He's a guy who really showed up for this team at the end of the season, or at the end of the regular season, I should say. And so, yeah, you got to hit a three. You got to get Diabate going. Defensively, I think they've been solid, but they can always clamp down on guys like Deshaun Thomas, because Hunter Dickinson, and I know we've already been seeing on Twitter, he's simply not guarding the three-point line right now, which he needs to.
I think, in my opinion, I'm not going to copy yours because that'd be a cop-out. So Michigan, for me, it's got to be the turnovers. They average 11.5 turnovers a game. Today, they have 9 in the first half, where they went through, as you mentioned, about an 8-minute stretch of, we'll say it was horrid offense for the Wolverines.
It was high school offense
from Michigan. Besides in the Indiana game, there have been plenty of times this year where Michigan's offense has just been rolling. They're able to go inside. They're able to pull up from mid-range, and they're able to hit the three-pointer. And they just haven't been able to do that anywhere outside the paint. 22 of their 29 points have been inside the painted area. And if they don't cut down on the turnovers to at least get the opportunity to put a shot up, I don't see this game going any better for Michigan, because they're currently unable to stop the three-point shot. And they're going to have to do much better to finally do something to beat Colorado State here, because they have all the edge, all the motivation. Michigan just got a couple of buckets down the stretch to keep the energy up on their side.
Yeah, I mean, I fully agree with you. The offense was unwatchable for the Wolverines, frankly. I mean, that 6 or 7 minute span, they were awful. That was the worst Michigan offense. And I'm not trying to make a big statement. I truly mean it. That was the worst Michigan offense I've seen since, I don't know, 2015. Just for the
last Thursday?
I actually, no, I would say yes. I actually would say it was worse than last Thursday, because I will say, although the offense was god-awful in that 17-point comeback that Indiana had, I think a lot of it was that the Hoosiers actually clamped up on defense, because they were not allowing any passing lane for Michigan. I mean, Michigan couldn't complete their passes. They were stepping out on the threes. I give a lot of that credit to Indiana, of course. Michigan was awful in that stretch. But I think this time, I'm not even sure Colorado State's played great defense. I just think Michigan offensively was so out of sync there. It's good that they figured it out at the end of the half, but they got to keep it going here in the second half.
And now that we've seen 20 minutes of Devontae Jones-less Michigan basketball, how much do you think the Wolverines are missing their fifth-year senior, one of their leaders now at this point, Devontae Jones?
A lot. I mean, that's a simple answer. A lot. This team, like we said, they've looked out of sync, and I think that's probably because of Devontae Jones being out. When you don't have your point guard and your veteran leader like Devontae Jones is for this team, it's hard to stick to what you usually do. And Frankie Collins, I don't think he's had a bad game, frankly. I think he's been solid, but I just think they've missed him quite dearly so far.
And if you're interested in an update from across the country, over in Buffalo, Providence is currently leading South Dakota State 31-3. And that is perhaps one of the most picked upsets in all of the bracket, along with Michigan. So perhaps a couple of bracket busters right away. Michigan trailing by 7 at halftime. And it looks like South Dakota State, unless they can get out of the basket in the last 25 seconds of this first half, look like they're going to go down at the half by 9. So, Neil, I got to ask you, since it's St. Patrick's Day, we're all about fun in the NCAA tournament. What was your biggest upset in your bracket? And Michigan doesn't count.
Yeah, oh, definitely not. It's actually South Dakota State. Either South Dakota State or Vermont. I looked at the Colgate Wisconsin game quite a lot, but I don't know. I think Wisconsin is a team that usually does well in March, and I think when you have a guy like Johnny Davis to rely on consistently in those type of crunch time situations, I think Wisconsin will win that game. I will say this. It would not surprise me at all. It's a game that will be happening later today in Gainbridge Fieldhouse right here in Indianapolis. I think St. Peter's is going to keep it close with Kentucky. And I know that might be a bold prediction, but I really believe it. That's a very good defensive team in St. Peter's. And when you're looking for upset picks in the tournament, defensive teams or teams that are very high in defensive efficiency usually go pretty far in the tournament. Or if it's a lower conference team, usually cause upsets. And so I would look out for them. But honestly, other than that, I don't see any big-time upsets happening in this tournament. I did last year. I will say this. I'm going to plug my bracket. I was perfect after the first 10 picks or 11 games of last year. I had Oral Roberts beating OSU. That's just a little boast for me. But I'm not sure I see that as much this year with this bracket. And, of course, I know I'm going to be wrong.
In the game following this one between Colorado State and Michigan, it'll be 3-seed Tennessee and 14-seed Longwood. Is from Georgia in the Big South, where there's only 6 teams.
I did not know Longwood's from Georgia. For some reason, I thought they were from
what?
California or something.
This is the student broadcast, everybody. Virginia, I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that either, but there you go.
Virginia. So Longwood and Tennessee will be following this game, and that'll be whoever Colorado State or Michigan will go to play. Longwood from the Big South, who is home of only 6 teams in their conference, and Tennessee, of course, from the SEC, who jumped out to a 14-0 lead in the SEC championship game against Texas A&M, a team that many thought should make the NCAA tournament over the Wolverines. And this is prove it time for Michigan and Juwan Howard, because maybe they were given a gift here in the NCAA tournament, and their bid, they were ranked number 5 or number 4 to start the season. And now they've got a chance to say, hey, if this for some reason happens to us again next year, we deserve the bid because we won a game in the NCAA tournament last year.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I've been telling everybody this too. This is the first game of the tournament. Everybody always watches the first game of the NCAA tournament. And so,
I remember being in 5th grade, trying to watch it on the teacher's big screen.
In middle school, you'd ask for the hall pass to go to the bathroom just so you'd watch the end of these games. Everybody is going to be watching the end of this game. And so it would be a little embarrassing for Michigan if they can't get it done after all the hate, all the talk that they heard before this tournament. If they can't back up their seeding and the reason that they're here, that'd be a little disappointing.
Michigan and Colorado State, a 7-point advantage for the Rams of CSU from Fort Collins, Colorado. 25-5 overall, 14-4 in conference play out of the Mountain West. They were ranked as the number 24 team in the country going into their conference tournament. Had not played an AP Top 25 team all season.
Yeah, this is a very good Colorado State team. If you didn't believe it before this game, you certainly do now. It's a good team. And we'll see as we get ready here. The buzzer sounds, so we'll get ready for the second half. One thing I think Michigan needs to look at, and if I'm one of Juwan's assistant coaches right now that I'm telling Juwan Howard and this team, go after David Roddy. He has 2 personal fouls from that first half. If you can get him into foul trouble, that would help Michigan a lot because he has been the leader, the heart and soul, whatever you want to say, of Colorado State all year long. He's been a little quiet today, surprisingly, with 7 points, 4 rebounds, and 2 assists, if that's even considered quiet. But for David Roddy, it is. And so Michigan, I think you attack him, try to get him into foul trouble.
David Roddy, the 6'5" junior from Minneapolis, Minnesota, an All-American honorable mention in the NCAA, and the Mountain West Player of the Year. The 3rd time a player has done that at Colorado State in the Mountain West. He's got it from the left elbow. He'll attack Caleb Houston inside the paint. A fadeaway shot falls. And that's not the start you wanted if you're Michigan.
And that's why you want to get him into foul trouble right there, because he can do things like that, a nice, smooth little step-back fadeaway.
Michigan's got to get into a consistent offense early and often here in the second half for a chance to win this game. Trailing by 9, Eli Brooks to Caleb Houston from the left elbow. He'll step back and fire away a jumper off the front of the rim. Rebound comes down to Moore. Moore cross-court pass to Stevens. Colorado State with a chance to go up by double digits. Stevens around a screen from Thomas. Dribbles through the baseline. He pulls Hunter Dickinson out of the paint, so that's maybe a markable thing here. Deshaun Thomas has 4 3-pointers. He now has the ball at the top of the key. Inside, nice pass. Goes to Tanjay. Ball falls down to Colorado State, but no. Frankie Collins takes it away, and here comes Michigan.
Fantastic defense by Caleb Houston right there, not allowing the initial pass and then clogging the passing lane at the end.
Frankie Collins to Diabate, right wing, back to Collins, running the point. To Eli Brooks, left wing, into the corner for Houston. Hunter Dickinson gets the ball in the post and puts it through. Michigan's past 30 points. And it's back to a 7-point advantage for Colorado State.
And that's the sweet spot. Michigan's got to be looking for it nonstop for Hunter Dickinson. Colorado State, meanwhile, has got to be trying to force him out of the post and the low shoulder right there.
And now look at Hunter Dickinson. There's an offensive foul. The ball will go the other way in favor of the Wolverines. The foul goes against Kendall Moore. And I was just mentioning Hunter Dickinson playing much more aggressive defense against Deshaun Thomas on the 3-point line. And I'm sure that's a point of emphasis from Juwan Howard going into halftime. Let's go Blue Chance. Here they come.
Yeah, the energy is definitely up here for this Michigan team right now.
A bucket here would put everyone on their feet. Eli Brooks inside the paint, into contact, off the glass, can't get the shot to fall. He wheeled around with the right hand, went back to the left in the air, drew a foul again against Kendall Moore. Or excuse me, that's Isaiah Stevens. That's his second. So Kendall Moore and Stevens both have 2. Eli Brooks, who missed 1 free throw going in to halftime, will get 2 here.
Yeah, and a nice little pick and roll right there to free up some space for Eli Brooks in the driving lane as Hunter Dickinson just popped out for the 3, and Brooks had nobody there.
Eli Brooks now 2 of 3 for this game at the line. He'll shoot his second one here. He's now 3 for 4. This is the slimmest margin that Colorado State's had over the Wolverines in some time.
Look at Juwan Howard, man.
Put up this crowd. Here comes.
You don't think he wants it? Let's
Kendall
go.
Moore on the screen. Gives the Tanjay back to Roddy. Top of the key for Thomas. Nice defense by Hunter Dickinson. Really handsy. Ball goes to Michigan. Here comes Frankie Collins. Drives inside the paint. Gets the bunny. It's a 3-point lead for Colorado State. Timeout, Colorado State. Nico Medved. And here come the Maize and Blue, folks.
Wow. I mean, we were saying nonstop in the first half that there is no energy, no life to this team. My goodness, that has completely changed. Completely changed. I mean, I haven't seen Juwan Howard this animated since, well, the Wisconsin game. I didn't want to say it, but I haven't seen him this animated and this pumped up since the Wisconsin game because he is just, he's loving it right now, and he's getting the fans absolutely amped up.
Folks, it's a 3-point game. 18 minutes remaining in this game. And you wanted madness. Here it is. Welcome to March, everybody. 38-35. Colorado State still with the advantage. They'll have the ball on offense following the timeout from Nico Medved. A 6-0 run for the Wolverines over the last 44 seconds. They ended the half on a 16-8 run, so you add that up, 22-8 in favor of the Wolverines, or excuse me, 22-10. Michigan did allow a basket by Colorado State to open the half.
Yeah, and maybe this is Michigan learning the lesson as to what happened last Thursday against Indiana, where the Wolverines, like we said, were up 17. They were up 60-43 in that game, blew the lead, and eventually lost the game. This time, Michigan was down 28-13 in the middle of the first half and have completely stormed their way back into this game. And they've done it kind of in the same way that the Hoosiers did to Michigan, and that they've done it with the defense first. They have absolutely clamped down as of recently, and Colorado State is starting to look like the team now that's actually out of sync.
And I want to make this as a point of emphasis, as I just mentioned during play, that Juwan Howard, I'm sure, came up to Hunter Dickinson, his star sophomore center, and said, you've got to play better defense around the perimeter. And he certainly did that. He got really handsy with Deshaun Thomas, and all of a sudden the ball pops free, and Frankie Collins did what he does best in transition and scooped home a bucket. Hunter Dickinson has to be that guy for Michigan here in the second half. And so far, 1 minute, 59 seconds through, it looks like that was a wonderful job by number 1.
Oh, definitely. I mean, it's been said of this team and Hunter Dickinson all year long that this team will live and die by whatever Hunter Dickinson does. He will take them as far, or however far they go, excuse me, will be as far as Hunter Dickinson takes them, is what I'm trying to say. And that he is the clear-cut star player on this team. And the games that they've won, the big games that they've won, have been mainly because of Hunter Dickinson showing up big time in those games. So he's doing it again right now with 14 points, 6 of 8 from the field. He is 0 of 1 from 3. Really, yeah, they haven't looked at the three-point shot at all for him. Again, Michigan still has not made a three-point shot. They're still 0 of 7 from the field. You'd have to think that has to change. But frankly, if the Wolverines continue to play like they have been the last few minutes, I think Juwan's fine with not even looking at the three-point line.
You can fully expect the Michigan faithful on the far side of the floor. We're looking at the March Madness logo upside down from our spot on the baseline that Michigan will be defending here. And that crowd that you hear coming from the far side, those are the fans wearing the proud maize and blue of Michigan. And here comes Colorado State and Isaiah Stevens, leading it by 3. And a bit more of energy coming out of this timeout from Colorado State. David Roddy. Here's the matchup we all want to see against Hunter Dickinson, about 5 feet from the post. Roddy attacks, double team comes, and it's a foul against Dickinson. It looked like he may have gotten away with a travel.
Yeah, I was going to say, I definitely thought that was a travel, but I think it might have been the contact before, I guess, is what the refs are calling. But if I'm David Roddy, though, I'm not sure I want to go to the hoop against Hunter Dickinson. I think that's one more that you step outside in the perimeter.
Inbounds pass goes long to Tanjay. Over to Stevens at the left wing, defended by Brooks. Back to Tanjay, top of the key, about 5 feet away from the three-point arc. Deshaun Thomas, hands off to Kendall Moore. Back to Thomas. To the right wing for Stevens. Stevens probes inside the three-point arc over to Roddy, 5 on the timer. Stevens drives, kicks back outside for Kendall Moore for a three-pointer. Got it. Wow.
And so that's the issue with a 5-out offense like Colorado State when you're trying to defend it. Hunter Dickinson actually stepped out on the three-point line. He had a good defensive stance, but he's not going to keep up with a point guard like Kendall Moore. And then the Rams just swing it around and find a wide open 3.
Dickinson almost turned it over. Caleb Houston to the corner. Frankie Collins for 3. Got it. There's Michigan's first three-pointer of the game. Frankie Collins has only hit 2 all season. That's his 3rd.
Well, put that on your bingo card. The first 3 made by Frankie Collins. I would never have thought that would happen.
Nice defense from Frankie Collins against Stevens, who just hit the 3. He put
wow.
No foul there. Juwan Howard livid. Roddy pulls a 3 in and out. Rebound down to Houston. Here come the Maize and Blue. Collins to the left wing. Inside to Dickinson, draws a foul. You wanted madness, Neil. Here it is.
It's just insane to think that this is the same Michigan team as the first half. I mean, there was no energy, nothing. The fans weren't into this game. Nobody from the Michigan section.
No.
Yeah, they probably were a little embarrassed to even stand up and support this team, but that has completely changed. Wolverines have all the momentum. If I'm Colorado State, I think you look to David Roddy on offense to try to get a silencer real quick and slow down the momentum for Michigan.
Worth noting that was Stevens' 3rd foul. To the bench he goes. Caleb Houston, right wing, dumps inside Dickinson, trying to make it a 1-point game. He lost the handle, knocked away by Stevens. Thomas knocked it away. 3-point try in the corner for Chandler Jacobs. Off the front of the rim, rebound comes down to Diabate, and it falls into the hands of CSU. A 3-point try for Moore off the front of the rim. Rebound to Colorado State again and Jacobs. Michigan got to be more aggressive for Musa Diabate. He was the only one really in there for him. Thomas looking to hand the ball off to Tanjay, gets it away at the right wing, crosses over Houston, steps back for 3, front rim, no good. Diabate rebound, Collins.
Good defensive stand right there. Colorado State unlucky. None of them went down, though.
Under 16 timeout coming. Collins to the corner. Man, Houston was going to be wide open. He airballed the 3.
Oh, my goodness.
But there's a foul on the floor, and that'll bring us to the under 16 timeout. The foul goes against Chandler Jacobs, the 4th team timeout against Colorado State. So there's another thing worth noting. Michigan already 3 fouls away from being in the bonus here in the second half. It's a 3-point game, so I hope no one's going to be leaving us. Zach Linfield here with Neil Sinha. What a game we've had so far.
Fantastic game. I mean, this is the definition of what March is. And similar to those conference tournaments, that you can never walk away from a game. You can never go, get that sandwich that you're craving or whatever. It doesn't matter because it can happen in an instant. It doesn't matter if a team's down by 15 or 20. It can happen in an instant that they come back, similar to how Michigan's done here. Down 15 in the first half, and now they're within 3. And like you said, Colorado State with 4 fouls already. That is a tough sign for the Rams. Michigan, they're a solid free throw shooting team. Not great, but you'd have to think they'd be trying to take advantage of that.
Michigan's been running with a pretty consistent lineup of Dickinson, Collins, Diabate, Houston, and Brooks, and you'd love to see a little bit more from Houston and Diabate, the 2-star freshmen that Michigan pulled in from this past recruiting cycle.
Yeah, and I mean, those are the 2 guys that a lot of Michigan fans have been quite disappointed with this season. Maybe not Musa Diabate, I should clarify, but Caleb Houston certainly. He's had a really rough freshman year, and I think a lot of people, when they see the rankings for these high school recruits, and for Houston, he was the 8th ranked player coming out of high school, I'm pretty sure, per 247 Sports and ESPN. He was in the top 10. But when people see those rankings, they think that guy's going to immediately be a star in college. It's tough coming from high school and going to college. You're playing bigger guys, smarter guys, and you're playing a lot more games too. So it can be difficult, and Caleb Houston struggled with that. I think he'll probably be a guy who comes back to this team. Frankly, I think the whole Michigan team, other than the obvious Devontae Jones and Eli Brooks, I think everybody else will be coming back. So we'll see. Next year they have very good things to look forward to. But yeah, going back to what you were saying, Musa Diabate too. He has to get going. 0 points right now, just 4 rebounds. It's been quite interesting because I thought Diabate might have a solid game with the Rams maybe focusing their defense on Dickinson more.
And I want to play a little bit of trivia with you for the last time. You can't look at my phone either. In which Frankie Collins hit a 3-pointer. Which game was that?
Definitely not within the last. I want to say Purdue at home.
His last 3-pointer came on December 18th against
nice.
Southern Utah. He's hit 2
Wow.
3-pointers all season. That's now his 3rd. The other one came against Tarleton State just 3 days before Michigan took the gridiron against Ohio State.
Wow. Well, that's why I made the comment about the bingo card, because Frankie Collins doesn't shoot threes, and that's the next step of his development.
Much like Hunter Dickinson's was.
Yeah, and frankly, honestly, every Michigan point guard that they've had as of recently, Xavier Simpson, Derek Walden at the beginning of his career was not a 3-point shooter. They've kind of all taken that similar path of development of creating a jump shot, and hopefully that'll be the same for Frankie Collins. That's why I think he's going to be fantastic down the line.
Inbound pass to Diabate was taken away after he tried to throw it inside to Dickinson. Michigan's got to cut down on those turnovers trying to get the ball inside the post. Kendall Moore controls the offense for Colorado State in the 5-out. Thomas is at the free throw line, and he'll wait for the pass from David Roddy if he gives it to him. Instead goes to Jacobs, who wheels his way back around. Roddy gets the pass at the elbow. Outside Thomas. He'll try another 3. Man, oh man, he got another one.
Does this guy miss? I mean, Deshaun Thomas has been fantastic today. 15 points now. Wow.
Frankie Collins looks to dish inside. Diabate from the left elbow won't take the shot. Houston over to Brooks at the right wing. A rounded screen from Diabate. Brooks from the free throw line pulls up a jumper. Can't get it to fall. Diabate, offensive
There we go.
versus first points. No more goose egg for the freshman from Paris.
And he deserved that. He set 3 picks in a row for Eli Brooks, back and forth, swapping back and forth, and then he got the box out on, I think it was Deshaun Thomas. I don't know who it was, but then he gets it put back.
Thomas has got it now. He's driving into Hunter Dickinson, turns around, gets it back outside the 3-point arc to Moore. Moore at the free throw line
watch
to
the 3.
Thomas. Another 3-pointer for Thomas. Doesn't fall. And I've got my Thomases and my Roddies and everything mixed up here for Colorado State. They're moving the ball so well. Houston at the top of the key for Brooks. Here working the Tanjay. Gets a screen from Dickinson. Brooks into contact. Off the glass. No good. The ball falls up into the air. Roddy brings it down for another rebound.
I don't mind that at all from Eli Brooks. He had the lane right there, drew a little bit of contact, and wasn't able to get the little hook shot to go. But I don't mind that.
4-point lead for Colorado State. Tanjay around a screen from Thomas. Now Thomas will drive with the left hand into a lot of contact from Caleb Houston. And Moore now has it outside the 3-point arc. 5 on the shot clock. Moore to Tanjay. Tanjay through the leg dribble inside the paint. Looks to fade into Dickinson. It's a shot clock violation. Wonderful defense from Michigan. Hunter Dickinson's pumped up.
Big time defense from number 1 right there, the big guy. Keeping the feet moving. Great play by the Wolverines. I will say, although Caleb Houston's having a rough game offensively, he is showing up defensively for the Wolverines, which is a great sign.
Stevens and Rivera are into the game for Colorado State. They go full court press. Michigan will not break it. Brooks turned it over. Stevens into contact. Doesn't get the easy bunny to fall. Here comes Michigan. Eli Brooks kind of gave up on that play. To the corner. Caleb Houston for three. Give me that! Crowd eruption. You can hear it in Ann Arbor.
There we go. The 5-star true freshman showing up and finally making an impact on this game offensively. That's got to feel good.
5-out offense for Colorado State. Stevens at the March Madness logo. Gets a screen from Thomas. There's a foul. It'll go against Eli Brooks. 1-point game, folks, here in Indianapolis. Michigan with a 7-point comeback. They've been down by 11, and they're all the way back here within 1. They have not led in this basketball game. They're looking for their first chance. They need a defensive stop first. Roddy's inbound pass to Thomas. And there's another foul. This one will go against Musa Diabate.
I believe that's his third. Yep.
Juwan Howard immediately reassures Musa and says, stay in the game, Musa. This is your chance to go. 1-point game. 13-12 remaining in the ball game. And one of these two teams' seasons, which have both been a little unorthodox. Colorado State didn't really expect to be this good this season. Michigan expected to be a bit better. Stevens grabs the inbound pass, crossing over Brooks. Nice dribble, steps back into Thomas inside the lane. Doesn't get the roll to fall, as Collins brings it down and dribbles up the floor. Collins to the corner for Houston. He'll pull a three for Michigan's lead. No good. Rebound goes long to Brooks. He pulls up from the baseline. He got it. Michigan's in front. Listen to this crowd, folks. It's like we're back in the Chrysler Center. Let it breathe out. Colorado State brings the ball to the sideline. Rivera to Roddy at the top of the key. Roddy back to Stevens. Inside Roddy. Moose has got to play straight up with 3 fouls. Cross-court pass. Tipped in the air. Brought down by Chandler Jones into contact from Frankie Collins, and he grabs the N1. What a game we have here inside Gainbridge Fieldhouse.
And this is living up to the billing. I don't know. I think Michigan was favored in this game, right? Like 2-point line or 1-point line. There you go. This is completely living up to that, as we should be in for a very good ending right there.
Chandler Jacobs at the line to shoot for Colorado State. He had 9 against SDSU a few days ago. He shoots 84% from the line. A 1-point lead for Colorado State. He'll make it 2. A beautiful stroke from the line. And here comes Michigan and Frankie Collins into the full court press. Caleb Houston past the front court. 47-45 is the Rams' lead. 2 great crowds going at it here in Indianapolis. Inside pass. Diabate off the glass. Can't get the shot to fall over Roddy. Stevens comes down with the rebound. And here come the Rams in their white uniforms.
I like that,
their
though.
A's.
Michigan has to be attacking David Roddy right now with 2 fouls.
James Moore's a continuation. Gets the shot to fall. That looks like a travel from me. Nonetheless, it's a 4-point lead for Colorado State. Michigan's got to get back in their offensive set. Frankie Collins probing, looking for somewhere to go with the ball. 20 on the timer. He'll pull up from 3. Frankie Collins does not get that one to fall. Musa could have been a lot more aggressive on the rebound. Stevens, the smallest guy on the floor, grabs his second. Colorado State into their offense. Rivera, Kobe Buffkin goes to the scorer's table for the Wolverines. Moore's pushing off on Dickinson. Roddy tries a 3. It's short. Rebound goes to Houston and Michigan. Lots of back and forth running. A media timeout at the next whistle. Eli Brooks from the elbow. Looking to drive baseline. Will kick outside to Houston. Michigan trails by 4. 11:15 to play in the game. Michigan fans on their feet on the far side of the floor waiting for something good to happen here. Dickinson top of the key. 10 to shoot for the Wolverines. Gets a screen. Brooks pulls up from the free throw line. He got it. Falls right through. Back to a 2-point spread.
And that was a classic Michigan offensive set there of basically just having 2 or 3 guys coming on a wheel with picks from Diabate and Dickinson, and it freed up Eli Brooks for the mid-range shot right there.
4 fouls on each team. Rivera gives to Moores against Dickinson. He goes behind the back, drives against Hunter, grabs a lot of contact, doesn't get the shot to fall. Hits back iron, goes to Michigan. Collins all the way up to Brooks, who looked at a three, pump fakes, drives the baseline, outside Houston, wide open, he hit it!
There we go. Call him Caleb Big Shot Houston. He is showing up when Michigan needs it the most offensively now.
Stevens for Colorado State. Gives to Jacobs. Looking to get the ball to Roddy. Great defense by the Wolverines. Stevens, free throw line extended. Drives to the free throw line. Has a mismatch against Dickinson. Stevens crosses over. Gets inside the paint. High off the glass. No shot to fall. Rebound to Collins. In the transition. Gives back to Houston for another one. He got it again. Caleb Houston. Timeout, Colorado State. Michigan leads by 4 inside Gainbridge Fieldhouse.
Get those puppies organized. Caleb Houston. A little shout out to one of my favorite commentators, Bill Raftery, but oh my goodness. He came to play this half. He came to play. And Caleb, I've been saying this a lot this season with Caleb Houston, is that when he's on, he's on. When he's struggling, he also struggles. We saw that first half where Houston was really struggling offensively. He could not get a thing going. He was 0 of 3 from 3. He couldn't get anything going in the first half. But if he just hits a 3, he's the type of player that his confidence just shoots through the roof, and he immediately thinks he can make every single shot. Big time.
Michigan has now hit 4 3-pointers in the second half. Much like Colorado State, they started 4 for 6. Michigan's now 4 for 6 in the second half. An 8-0 run over the last 75 seconds. 3 of their last 3, Colorado State hasn't scored in over 2 minutes. Michigan doing exactly what they needed to do based off of your halftime analysis for their goal in the second half to make 1 3. And like you said, the bingo card game with Frankie Collins, all it really took was 1 for Michigan to get into a groove. All of a sudden, hello, Caleb Houston. He's got 13 points. He's shooting 5 of 10 from the field. And all of a sudden, 3 of 7 from 3.
And I mean, we kept saying that all along through the first half, that Michigan just needed a spark from somebody. And in the first half, it was from Frankie Collins. He stepped up. They got a little 5-point sequence that immediately turned the game around, immediately brought up their energy. That was big time for these Wolverines. The same has happened in the second half, now with Caleb Houston. It's just been feeling like they've been a shot or 2 away from completely shifting this in their favor, and they've been doing that now. This second half has been fantastic for the Wolverines. If you remember, they were down 7 at halftime. Now they're up 4.
Michigan in the first half, 9 turnovers. I guess they also could hear me from all the way up in our perched position in Gainbridge Fieldhouse. 3 turnovers in the second half. And it's come a lot on the shoulders of their senior leader and captain, Eli Brooks, who turned the ball over immediately off of an inbound, but they didn't get the shot to fall. Collins came down with the rebound. Michigan in that next possession drilled a 3 by Caleb Houston, and that's maybe all it needs sometimes for their captain to give him a little pick-me-up, because he's usually the guy doing the same.
And that's a good point, too, because I'm not so sure Michigan goes on this run if after that steal that Colorado State had, if they had made that layup, if Stevens had made that layup, I don't think Houston then comes back and hits the 3. You know what I'm saying? I don't think they go into the chain of events that have happened. So Michigan got a little lucky, and they've taken advantage of it. And that's what basketball, that's what March Madness is all about. You can't control everything, so try to control the things that you can and the way that you play, and that's what Michigan's done in this second half.
So let's set the scene for you. The Michigan Wolverines of Ann Arbor, Michigan lead at 53-49 over the Colorado State Rams from Fort Collins, Colorado. 4 fouls on each team, 9:47 to play. 2 substitutions for Michigan, Kobe Buffkin and Brandon Johns. On the floor for Colorado State, Stevens, Moores, Jacobs, Lake, and Roddy. Roddy has 9. His season average is just below 20. Stevens to Jacobs at the left wing. Defended by Buffkin. He's playing tight defense over to Moores. To Jalen Lake. He's 0 for 1 from 3, but he'll take a couple. Jacobs to the corner, Roddy. To Moores, top of the key. Roddy. Pump fakes at the left wing. Probes to the free throw line. Gives corner for Jacobs. Jacobs crosses over Buffkin. Works his way into the paint. Into a double team. Taken away by Brandon Johns. Great defense for the senior from East Lansing. And here come the Wolverines with Eli Brooks running the point. Juwan Howard stands right in front of his freshman Musa Diabate. who's at the scorer's table. Eli Brooks hands to Dickinson. Houston drives inside the lane, tried to give to Dickinson. He's on the floor, and the ball goes in favor of Colorado State.
And that's
Jacobs in transition to Stevens.
That's one there where maybe Caleb needs to go up with that.
Lake will try a three from the right wing, bottom.
Tough one to swallow right there for Michigan. But if they can get a quick response here on offense, that would be big time towards holding this lead.
Brandon Johns has the ball at the point, and he gives to Brooks. Brooks pulls up from the right elbow. Can't get the shot to fall. Bounced in and out about twice. And here come the Rams.
Tell you what, they need to check that rim. I swear that's like the 5th time on that rim that we've seen some going in and out there.
Stevens to the baseline, floats a shot up, airballed. Moore's grabbed it. It may have been about an alley-oop, but Brooks comes down with it. Here comes Michigan in the corner for Bufkin. To Houston, they turn the ball over, but he's out of bounds. Ball will remain with the Wolverines. Man.
Yeah, a little sloppy right there. And again, Michigan, maybe got a little lucky because that's one that Kobe needs to either take immediately or try to drive to the hoop on the baseline. So, yeah, we'll see. I think Kobe's still in the game. Diabate comes in here. This is a very inexperienced lineup for the Wolverines.
And they've got to do a couple of good things here without Dickinson on the floor. And it starts with Eli Brooks, who dumps inside Diabate with the right hook. Gets the shot to fall over the front of the rim over James Moore, the tallest man on the roster for Colorado State at 6'10". 5-point lead for Michigan. 3-point lead, 55-52. Colorado State into their offense. Stevens falls down. On the floor is Morris. He almost got a travel there, and usually when they fall, that's going to be a travel. Nonetheless, Colorado State with the basketball. Stevens inside the paint, shoots off the glass. No good. Maybe check that rim too, Neil.
Check both rims while you're at it. My goodness, everything is just rimming out right now. I'm just shocked, though, that Colorado State's not going to David Roddy. He has completely lost his touch on the offensive end here.
Good job on defense right now. Got to say it by Brandon Johns. Kobe Bufkin, top of the key, working against Moore. He has 3 fouls. Brooks grabs a screen from the freshman from France. Brooks off the glass.
Oh,
it's a fall.
He
knocked him down. It's a 5-point lead for Michigan, their biggest of the game.
Absolutely flattened after the shot by David Roddy. And trust me, when you have a 255-pound David Roddy falling on you, that can't feel good.
Here comes the crowd again. Kendall Moore, the March Madness logo. This is what you wanted in March, right? Lake at the left wing, inside to Roddy. Puts it up with 2 hands and gets the shot to fall. He's now over 10 points. He's got 11. 57-54 Wolverines.
And you'd have to think they're going to start going to him more for the rest of this game, for the home stretch here. He's been such a steady factor for this Colorado State team all throughout the season.
Next whistle is another media timeout. Diabate gives to a curling Brooks. Brooks grabs a screen from Diabate inside the paint to Diabate. Off the glass. There's a foul on the floor. It looks like that'll go against Stevens, and that'll be his 4th. So one of the starting guards for Colorado State will more than likely have to sit until the under 4 timeout. This is the under 8 timeout, though. Michigan leads by 3. They're now 2 fouls away from being inside the bonus here inside Gatebridge.
Yeah, and very well disciplined, by the way, on Colorado State for the last few minutes on defense, because they picked up 4 fouls at the very beginning of this half, and then for the last 6-7 minutes they've only had 1 foul. So they've been able to avoid the bonus or avoid putting Michigan into the bonus, which has been good. But yeah, I've been shocked here on offense for the Rams that they haven't been going to David Roddy. We saw it finally on the last possession for Colorado State that they dipped it down low to David Roddy, who had a good positioning on Moussa Diabate and got the easy layup. You'd have to think they're going to go to that more often. We'll see. I think another guy to watch out for is going to have to be Deshaun Thomas when he comes back into this game, because he has been fantastic from 3 all game long. And so Hunter Dickinson, when he comes back into the game, is going to need to be ready for that too.
And this is a reminder that this broadcast of the NCAA Division I Men's Basketball Championship is authorized under broadcast rights granted by the NCAA through Westwood One. It is intended solely for the private, non-commercial use of our audience. Any reproduction, retransmission, or other use of this broadcast consent of the NCAA without the express written consent of the NCAA and Westwood One is strictly prohibited. 3 minutes left, Neil. This is for the season. You're Juwan Howard in that huddle. You've got one more media timeout following this one. What's your message to your guys?
Just stay calm. Stay calm. Keep doing the things that you've been doing. It's easy in these type of moments in basketball games or in any sport, frankly, when you're in the crunch time situations to kind of get caught up in the pressure. Juwan's got to be telling his guys just stick to the game plan. Stick to everything that they've been training for since fall training camp. They'll be just fine. They have the talent, and they've been streaking now for the last few minutes. They've had a great second half. Just continue that, keep it going, and maybe keep feeding Caleb Big Shot Houston because, man, he has been fantastic as of recently. So we'll see. I think you go to Caleb Houston. I think whenever Hunter Dickinson comes back in, he is going to be the focal point of this offense, and they'll probably be feeding the offense through Hunter Dickinson once he comes back.
And Hunter will be checking in. Kobe Buffkin looks like he'll go back out, but that was a couple of solid minutes from Kobe after he turned the ball over 3 times in the first half. You'd expect him to have a much larger role next year. And, Kobe Buffkin is a guy that came in a little underrated when it came to recruiting. He's hit a couple of big shots this season, namely the one in Columbus, the 3-point dagger to finish that one over Ohio State. He's going to have a big role with the team moving forward, and I really look forward to what he's got.
I fully agree with that. I fully agree because I've been telling a lot of people throughout the whole season that Kobe would have a game where he puts up about 20 points, where his shots finally go down because he's not afraid. Like Caleb Houston and these other freshmen, they are not afraid of the stage by any means. Kobe sometimes, to his own detriment, can get a little caught up in things and throw up some bad shots. I really think he's going to have a great game coming soon. If not in this tournament, next year he will be fantastic.
Collins inbounds to Houston, to Brooks at the top of the key, back to Houston left wing. Houston dumps inside. Dickinson against Roddy, who has a couple of fouls to his name, 2 specifically. Hunter Dickinson gets the and 1 against Roddy.
Flex on him. Come on now. Oh, my goodness. I mean, it's too easy for him. They switched 2 on him like they have all day. Roddy was once again playing that right shoulder, and Dickinson was able to just switch it over to his left hand. Maybe a little bit bad defense by David Roddy, but got the little floater to go.
Dickinson 2 for 2 from the line today, looking to go 3 for 3 and extend Michigan's lead to 6. And he does just that. And I want to apologize, that last foul did not go against David Roddy. It came from the help side from Tanjay. Michigan faithful, man, they haven't left their feet since about 15 minutes remaining in the second half. Roddy top of the key. To Tanjay back to Moore left wing. Moore dumps inside. Here's Roddy against Musa Diabate. Roddy with the right hand doesn't get the shot to fall, but it's a foul against Musa. That's his 4th.
I always love to see a lot of the reactions of these players when they get called for fouls because, of course, nobody thinks that they foul anyone. But Musa right there was just throwing his hands up like, what? That couldn't have been on him, but most definitely was. That's his 4th, by the way. You need to watch out for that because they want to keep Musa in. And now Roddy with 2 free throws here to try to cut it to a 4-point game.
Roddy shoots at 70% on the season. Has not attempted one today. A quick bend of the knees, a fire, no good. From the field, David Roddy, 5 of 11. He's 1 of 6 from 3. He is a good 3-point shooter. Not as great of a free throw shooter. Here's a second one. Neon green shoes for the junior from Minneapolis. He gets the second one. 60-55 is the Michigan advantage. The Wolverines do keep Musa Diabate in the game. That's worth noting with 4 fouls. Michigan into the front court for Frankie Collins. Isaiah Stevens comes to the scores table. He has 4 for Colorado State, but it's getting to crunch time. Brooks left wing, inside Diabate. Diabate back outside for Brooks. And Eli gives to the top of the key for Frankie. Frankie now attacks. Under 10 on the timer. Collins to the glass. And he scores!
Just such a quick first step. It's so hard to guard Frankie Collins on defense because he makes it look so easy to just blow right by you.
This is Michigan's biggest lead. It's now 7. Roddy over to Moore. Moore top of the key. Tanjay fumbled it for a second and got it back. Roddy from the right wing to Jacobs. Around a screen from Roddy. Lake will pull up from 3 at the left wing. He gets it to fall. Almost no movement on the net. Timeout Colorado State. It's back to a 4-point advantage for Michigan.
And they needed that one badly. I mean, Caleb Lake almost 5 feet behind the 3-point line for Colorado State. Got that one to go easily. I mean, he looked so confident shooting that shot. Colorado State, I was just going to say before they made that, if they can keep it to about 4 or 5 points until like the 3-minute mark, they have a very good shot at winning this game. Michigan, I think for the next 2-3 minutes before we hit the under 4-minute timeout, has to be trying to increase this lead to 6-7 point lead. I don't know, but you would have to feel good if they can put together a good minute or two here before the next media timeout.
And look who's coming to check in for Colorado State, and that's the man we don't want to see. Deshaun Thomas will be coming into the game. He's got 15 points, and Neil, he's their center. Every single one of his points have come from three-pointers. So Hunter Dickinson and Musa Diabate have got to be ready for Thomas to take some threes while he's on the floor.
Yeah, I mean, it's not fair that a center, I guess he's 6'8", but still that a center could shoot that well from three. And I mean, he had a couple that he was like 2 or 3 feet behind the line. So yeah, Hunter Dickinson has got to be watching out for that. This is usually when you have assistant coaches for Michigan looking at the opposing team's huddle and trying to see the personnel that's coming into the game. So you got to think that Juwan and the assistant coaches are telling Hunter Dickinson, get ready for Deshaun Thomas and guard that 3-point line.
62-58, Michigan's lead. 5:04 remaining in one of these two seasons, unless we go to overtime here in Indianapolis.
Could not have asked for a better way to start off March Madness, huh?
Inbound to Dickinson, right back to Collins. 5 minutes to play. On the floor for Colorado State, Moore, Stevens, Thomas, Lake, Roddy. Michigan has Dickinson, Collins, Diabate, Houston, and Brooks. Collins has had the ball this whole possession. Diabate dumps inside. Dickinson got it right over the top of David Roddy.
Great positioning by Hunter Dickinson. Was able to yield off David Roddy, and we said that was going to be an issue considering the size. Dickinson has a good 6, 7, 8 inches on David Roddy.
Lake back to Stevens to Roddy left wing. He is a threat to pull that shot. He's got Musa one-on-one. Musa's got 4 fouls. Roddy cross-court pass into the hands of Brooks, and Collins controls it. Active hands from the Michigan guards.
Smart play by Frankie to slow it down offensively and get the set going for the Wolverines here.
Michigan could take this all the way to the under 4 timeout. 15 on the timer. Dickinson, perhaps an NBA career following this NCAA tournament. We'll have to see. Dribbles for the first time, gives to Brooks. 7 on the timer. Brooks gets inside the paint, doesn't get the shot to fall. Stevens is running forward for Colorado State. Into the corner for Lake, a 3-point try. It's long. Rebound goes to Michigan, and Brooks, who falls down, controls his dribble. And the Wolverines, with a 6-point lead, have the ball with under 3:45 to play in Gainbridge.
It was a great look for the Rams right there, just unable to hit the 3-point shot, but that would have been big time for them.
Can't afford any mistakes here. There's a foul on the far end. It will go against David Roddy. That'll be his 3rd against Dickinson. And we'll head to the under 4 timeout here on WCBN FM Ann Arbor. Michigan leads by 6 in the first round of the NCAA tournament. Neil, couple minutes left. Your last message to your team.
So I'll say for Colorado State first, Nico Medved has to be telling David Roddy to not let what's happening on defense affect his offensive game, because that's what it feels like is happening right now. Roddy seems very disappointed in himself and very down, frankly, because Dickinson has been killing him on the offensive end now for the last 3-4 minutes. Roddy needs to put that behind him, have a short memory, because every time you come down on offense, they have to be relying on David Roddy. He's their best player. He's carried them to this point. He's the reason why this was the best team out of the Mountain West Conference. So that's the message for Colorado State. Go to your star player, get his spirits up, because you're still in this game. For Michigan, on the other hand, keep doing what you're doing. I think Hunter Dickinson has to keep being aggressive and trying to get good positioning down low in the post, because it's been working. Roddy simply can't guard it. He simply can't match up with the height that Hunter Dickinson has. And so I think you keep going down low to Dickinson. You feed the offense through him, like we've been saying so many times, because he's also a great passer. That's a lot of things that people forget about Hunter Dickinson. He is a really, really good passer. I know he has just 1 assist today if you're a box score watching, but he is a good passer. There's been many times this season that they fed him the ball in the post, and he's looked around and been able to find wide open 3-point shots for his teammates. So I think that's where you go in this offense. And yeah, like I said, rely on Dickinson and then have the offense run through Eli Brooks, the 5th-year senior who has been, the steady presence of this Michigan program as of recently.
Well, let's set the scene again for you guys. 3:37 to play in this ball game. Michigan leads it 64-58. They've gotten a big hand in the second half over CSU after trailing by 7. Well, Michigan has outscored the Rams by 13 in the second half behind a big surge from Hunter Dickinson and Caleb Houston. Frankie Collins hit the first 3 of the game for Michigan in the second half after going 0 for 7 in that first half. And you'd like to see at least maybe one more big time shot that could potentially be the dagger for Michigan over Colorado State. And as I mentioned, an upset pick that a lot of people had in this tournament.
Yeah, and this is closing time right here for Michigan. This is where you really see what a team's made of. This is closing time. So Michigan's got to get it done. No excuses. You're up 6 points with 3.5 to go. If they want to prove that they're really a tournament team, like the selection committee thought they were, go prove it right here. And if you beat the 6th seed Colorado State team, a good team, that certainly proves that you are worthy of making this tournament.
Hunter Dickinson at the line for the Wolverines, shooting 1-1. He has 19 on the game. Squats, fires, got it. He has a chance here to extend Michigan to their biggest lead of the game. It's currently tied at 7. Michigan will be in the bonus from here on out. Second free throw for Hunter. He got it. 66-58. A big defensive possession coming up. Watch for Deshaun Thomas to fire away at 3. The center's been incredible from downtown all day. Stevens crosses over Brooks, gets inside the paint, into contact. It'll fall down to Michigan. Eli Brooks got twisted up. The foul will go against Stevens. He's fouled out of the game, and Michigan will go and shoot 1-1.
Great help side defense by the Wolverines right there. You had Stevens just driving right to the hoop. Michigan immediately brought, I believe it was Caleb Houston, and I want to say Eli Brooks coming over.
Both help defense.
Yeah, to contest the shot, and that was the reason why Stevens was unable to get it, and then eventually fouls Eli Brooks. How big would this be, though, for Michigan if they can get up double digits and 10 points right now with 3.5 left?
Eli Brooks today from the free throw line is 4 of 5. He missed his last shot in the first half. Michigan in the bonus. The first from Eli. Missed it. And here comes Colorado State. So Isaiah Stevens out of the game. He averages 15 points a game, their second highest scorer. Behind the man with the ball right now who's calling for isolation, David Roddy. He'll get a screen from Moore. Moore from the right wing will drive inside. Kicks back outside Chandler Jacobs. Michigan tried to get on the floor for the loose ball, but Jacobs gets it back. Moore circles around the outside of the perimeter, and he'll drive inside the paint. He lost the handle. Out of bounds. Michigan basketball. Frankie Collins says, "Get out of my paint," and it'll go in the direction of the Maize and Blue. And a bit of talking back and forth between Frankie Collins and the Colorado State bench. So Michigan will have possession. They lead by 8, 3:03 to play.
Yeah, and like we said earlier, this is closing time. I think this is where Michigan's got to be looking for a dagger, because if they can hit a 3 or something, this game is close to being over.
You'd hope to be
Yeah.
close to over. Frankie Collins, playing quarterback, will just run down the clock here. He gets a screen from Diabate, a double screen from Dickinson. Dickinson dumps inside. Diabate lost the handle. He gets it back. Tries to drive baseline against Stevens. And he goes right into contact from Thomas. And that's his second foul. Stevens had just fouled out of the game. Deshaun Thomas picked up his second foul. But Musa Diabate, if you're Colorado State, I'd assume you're kind of fine with Musa going to the line to shoot free throws. Musa on the season only shoots 61% from the line. Well, here's a big chance for the freshman from France. His first free throw is good. Beautiful.
Yeah, and it seems like the energy on this Colorado State Rams team has just been completely sucked out of them.
Depleted.
Completely. I mean, it reminds me a little bit of what Michigan looked like in the first half, where they were completely lackluster, playing with no energy. And so you'd have to think, though, if Colorado State can maybe get a bucket on the offensive end, maybe they can get back into this thing.
Plenty of time left. 10-point advantage for Michigan. The cross-court pass is almost taken away. Michigan can't defend Kendall Morris. He drives to the basket, and he grabs 2. Colorado State is now at the 60-point mark. 68-60, Michigan's lead. Frankie Collins, again, will just take a couple of knees and wait for the Michigan offense to get into a rhythm. 15 on the shot clock. Collins penetrates into contact, puts it off the glass and in, but a really late offensive foul just came, and the Michigan bench really wants a flop on Colorado State's Kendall Moore.
I think it's the right
man.
call, though. I think it's the right call, at least in my opinion. I think he was there. He was set. It's a tough one to call, though.
This late in the game, that's a bummer for Michigan, who had a big chance to go up by more. Jalen Lake just misses a 20-foot jumper, and coming down with the rebound is Caleb Houston. 2 minutes to play. No more timeouts coming. Eli Brooks at the NCAA logo. It's being checked by Jalen Lake. Got to protect the ball. The fifth-year senior from Spring Grove. Diabate wants to look inside for Dickinson. He couldn't get position over Roddy. Brooks pulls up a 20-footer. Got it. How about the captain?
And Lake's got to know better. That's Eli Brooks' sweet spot on offense. He loves that little mid-range shot from the elbow.
Almost all Michigan fans in Gainbridge on their feet, urging their team to finish this game. Tanjay, a step back three, no good. Rebound comes down to Brooks. He's not opposed. A bucket here would pretty much do it. Brooks drives inside the paint. Left-handed, can't scoop and score. Out of bounds. It will go to Michigan, but I'm pretty sure they'll probably go to review. Nothing yet.
Yeah, and I was going to say the Colorado State guys aren't even protesting it. It's almost like they're just accepting their fate here, but you'd have to think the fouls are going to start coming soon.
Well, play resumes. Let's go blue chance. Dickinson. A chance for the dagger. Cross-court pass. Houston for three. He missed it. Rebound down to Michigan and Diabate, who throws it back into the play, but he stepped out of bounds right before he did it. 60 seconds to play. Michigan by 10.
Yeah, and Frankie and Musa just got to communicate right there because they were fighting for the rebound over each other. That's okay. 10-point game. Juwan and Michigan, they're in the exact spot that they wanted, and looks like they're going to review this.
Now, what do you think they're going to be reviewing here? That Musa was out of bounds?
I think so, because it looked like at the last second he chucked the ball back in, and so they're just going to check if he was actually stepping out. But how about this, though, Zach? I mean, if you had told me in the first half that Michigan would be leading this game by 10 with a minute left,
Oh,
I would
I
say,
think you're
no
crazy.
way. No way. I mean,
I would
they
tell you to
looked
head back to Ann Arbor.
Yeah, they looked absolutely awful in that first half. Offensively, they were a nightmare to watch. They had 9 turnovers in the first 12 minutes of the game. This is a team that averages about 11 and a half turnovers a game. They almost matched that in the first 10 minutes alone. But they have completely flipped the script here. And you have to give credit to Juwan Howard, by the way, because I was going to say the way that they were looking, Michigan needed a big-time adjustment from Juwan, Phil Martelli, and the coaching staff to turn this game around, and they've done exactly that. And I think, to Juwan's credit, they've started feeding the offense much more through Hunter Dickinson. There's been a lot more ball movement, and they've looked a lot better.
Under a minute to play. Kendall Moore drives to the rack. He's fouled by Frankie Collins. Michigan's athletes on the floor right now. Dickinson with 21, Collins 14, Houston 13, Brooks with 14. The only starter for the Wolverines under 10 is Musa Diabate, and he has 8 rebounds, but 4 personal fouls. Kendall Moore will shoot 2 for Colorado State. They may play the foul game from here on out. Michigan will be in the double bonus at the next foul. Kendall Moore's first free throw is good. 70-61 is Michigan's lead.
Yeah, and Colorado State, of course, will be going full court press, assuming that Kendall Moore makes the free throw. They'll be going full court press. Michigan, when that happens, they need to know for the inbounder that you can run the baseline. So they have to be looking around for that, and don't panic because they still have 3 timeouts here. So don't be afraid to use one of those.
The second from Moore is right through. He goes 2 for 2 at the line. He's had the last 4 points for Colorado State. Bufkin looking to get the ball in. He does to Brooks in an immediate foul as Eli goes flying into the Colorado State bench, asking a couple of reserves if they're all right. And with 54 seconds to play, Michigan in the double bonus for their best free throw shooter, Eli Brooks. Now, I'd say at this point, if you're looking for a free throw shooter to go to the line, I'm picking, besides Eli Brooks, of course. He's missed 2 today, though. I'd probably pick Hunter Dickinson. He's been pure at the line.
I was just going to say, of all the guys to foul, Eli Brooks maybe isn't the one. But yeah, like you said, he's missed 2 today. He's 4 of 6 from the line, makes that 5 of 7 now. This is where Juwan maybe looks like they're going to keep Musa in, but usually Juwan and Michigan subs out Musa since he's not a very good free throw shooter. We'll see if that happens.
I think they're going to keep him in here for the defensive part of the game. Michigan now leads by 10. Eli goes 2 for 2 at the line. And this would have to be a big-time stretch of a comeback for Colorado State down 10. They'll let Kendall Moore run wild, picks up his dribble. Roddy at the free throw line, spinning on Collins. You just can't allow an and one, and Roddy will go to the free throw line. He missed the shot, and just as I say, you can't allow an and one. He almost gets it to fall. But David Roddy is not the greatest free throw shooter. He's 1 for 2 today, and he shoots under 70% on the season.
Hey, but we've seen crazier, by the way, in terms of March Madness comebacks. Of course, everyone remembers that Northern Iowa
years ago.
Yeah, that Northern Iowa Texas A&M game in which A&M was down 13 points as Roddy misses the first. They were down 13 points with 32 seconds left. A&M with Alex Caruso leading them came all the way back, forced the overtime, and then won it in overtime.
Roddy's second free throw. Got it. 9-point game. And I was referring 4 years ago to the Jordan Poole shot, which rang through Ann Arbor. Michigan's got 3 timeouts. The inbound pass goes to Dickinson. Buffkin gets it right back, and he'll go to the line. Michigan's been playing a back-and-forth combo between Kobe Buffkin and Frankie Collins. For Kobe Buffkin to go to the line to shoot free throws. David Roddy now has 4, and Kobe Buffkin, just as a measure, shoots 75% on the season. He's only 15 of 20. But Frankie Collins shoots 14 of 31 in the season. That's under 50%. So Kobe Buffkin in the double bonus, hoping to get at least 1, gets the first.
Yeah, and I don't mean to look ahead because, I was the one just talking about the comebacks that we've seen in March Madness. But Michigan fans, try to watch that Tennessee game against Longwood that will be coming up. I know the Michigan fans here will probably be saying for it. That is a great Tennessee team that just won the SEC Conference Tournament.
And did it convincingly.
Yeah. That will be a very difficult game for the Wolverines, assuming that it is Tennessee. But
Longwood University. David Roddy, free throw line. Tanjay steps back for 3 at the left wing. Hits front rim, hits back rim, calls down to Eli Brooks, and Brooks calls timeout. 32.7 seconds left, and this is all but in the bag for the Michigan Wolverines. They won't have to head back to Ann Arbor. They'll be right here in Indianapolis as long as they can hold this lead for 32 seconds left.
Well, how about that for all the people that said Michigan wasn't a tournament team? How about that? Michigan proving their worth, that they should be here. They deserved it, and they're going to move on. They'll be one of the 32 best in the country, one of the last 32 to be playing in this season.
And we'll do our best here to get you guys a score update from around the rest of the country in the NCAA tournament. See if your brackets are busted yet. Providence leads South Dakota State by 9, 50-41, 8 minutes to play in the second half. And just like that, my bracket's busted as long as South Dakota State can't come back. Memphis and Boise State in the first half. The Tigers have a 6-point lead as Amani Bates makes his return. Baylor leads 14-5 over 16 seed Norfolk State. And that's early in the game. Longwood and Tennessee coming up next here from Gainbridge Fieldhouse in Indianapolis. We'll get to know a lot more about Tennessee. Perhaps Longwood if the 14 can upset a 3 in this tournament. Buffkin to Dickinson, who had the ball taken away from him from behind. Racing forward come the Rams and Jacobs. Hands off behind him to Kendall Moore for 3. Off the front of the rim. Rebound comes down to Diabate. That's his 9th. And he is fouled, and he'll go to the line to shoot. And Michigan, you can pretty much secure this one in as a W now. Michigan would have to, I'd say, do something out of the contest. Yeah, also lose this game. I will never put it past anyone. Seen too much.
Yeah, and the Rams are going to make their substitutions. This is classy by Nico Medved to give David Roddy a little bit of the standing ovation that he deserves because he's been fantastic for this Colorado State team all year long. You have to feel for him. He's just a junior, though, so he could be back next year. When looking at the NBA draft predictions, it looked like the scouts aren't very high on Roddy. So we'll see. He might be back in Colorado State. Rams fans, there's always next year, and this will be a good Colorado State team if they bring back the core guys that they have. I know they have a couple seniors, but if you bring back David Roddy, no matter what, you're going to be good.
They've only got 3. They'll try a three-pointer here from Lake. No good. Rebound down to Houston. They won't foul. And the Michigan Wolverines march on to the round of 32 in Gainbridge Fieldhouse, and they'll await the winner of the next game between Tennessee and Longwood. The final score, Michigan 75, Colorado State 63. An 11 seed has upset a 6 seed, and that continues the fact. Since 2010, 6 seeds are now 21-24 against 11 seeds, and the Wolverines will await their destiny on Saturday as they go through the handshake line, and Juwan Howard gets yet another win in the NCAA tournament.
And yeah, great coaching game for Juwan Howard and the Michigan coaching staff. I thought they were fantastic today. They came out in the first half and simply didn't look like they wanted to be here. I got to be honest. This Michigan team, the energy was low. They didn't look like they wanted it. They looked like they were proving everybody who was saying that Texas A&M should be in over Michigan. Looked like they were proving all of those people right. But then boom, in an instant, they flipped it around, flipped the script, and a lot of the credit has to be given to Juwan Howard because he's the head coach of this team. He is the leader of this team. And say what you will about the man, he knows his X's and O's. He really is a good coach, and he knows all the technicalities, as it looks like he's getting interviewed right now at CBS. But for the Wolverines, we look ahead. I know Juwan's going to have these guys, maybe they celebrate for a little bit, but they're going to be immediately watching quite a bit of tape on the Tennessee Volunteers, as that is a fantastic team led by Kennedy Chandler, Santiago Vescovi. Those 2 guards are fantastic for the Volunteers, and Michigan's going to have to watch out because that'll be a tough team. Hopefully a great game, though, assuming that Tennessee does indeed beat Longwood.
And you want to be impressed? Michigan is the first team to advance in the 2022 NCAA tournament. Let's do a really quick recap of today's game. We'll start with Colorado State. Their starters had a great game. David Roddy, 13 points. Average is just below 20. He had 13. Michigan kept him in check really well with a couple of different things, keeping him outside on the perimeter, making him uncomfortable, and not allowing him inside the paint.
Yeah, I mean, it was funny because they had a few different guys on David Roddy throughout the game. I thought Brandon Johns, in the few minutes that he played, was great for Michigan in guarding Roddy. I mean, Roddy really struggled there, and that kind of set the tone for the rest of the second half because he didn't get anything going. And then I think that Moussa Diabate, he did a solid job on David Roddy as well. He kept him in check. Roddy is the type of guy that you're simply not going to fully stop him. He's so darn good. He's going to get in double figures regardless. But if he's on the lower end of, like 10, 11, 12, 13 points like he had today, rather than 19, 20, 21 points, you feel great. And that's exactly what Michigan did today. And I think that's a big reason why Colorado State had just 63 points, a great defensive game for the Wolverines.
Roddy played 38 minutes of that game, and Michigan advancing on Saturday. But one of the biggest things that I noticed in this game, the 3-point shots from Colorado State. They went 8 for 20 in the first half, and as I pull up the stats right now, in the second half, they finished 12 of 35. So Michigan kept them off the 3-point line, and they didn't take as many in the second half.
Yeah, I mean, we were joking at halftime that, Colorado State had 20 3-point attempts or something. So actually,
in the first half, they had 20. They went 8 of 20.
Yep, exactly. And so Michigan kind of drove them off the line a little bit. Deshaun Thomas went cold. I think he hit 1 3, 1 bucket in the whole second half. And that's a testament to Hunter Dickinson, to Moussa Diabate, to Brandon Johns, like I said earlier. Those guys did a great job. Listen, they weren't good in the first half. But basketball is played in 2 halves, as I'm sure everybody watching this or listening to this knows. And so it doesn't matter what you do in the first half, so long as you make the adjustments and figure it out in the second half. That's exactly what Michigan did today, and you have to give them a ton of credit for it.
And that cheer that you hear us with the Tennessee Volunteers taking the floor, man, they have a traveling crowd here in Indianapolis. And quickly over Michigan, their plus-minus statistics in that second half, all 5 of their starters over 17 in the plus category. What a job by the Wolverines and the coaching adjustments. You've got to say something about that at halftime.
Oh, you have to. You have to. And I think Juwan did a great job with this team calming them down at halftime. They slowed the pace down a little bit on offense, but yet being meticulous with all their passes. It seemed like in the first half, they didn't really give too much care into where they were passing. That completely changed in the second half. They started relying more on Hunter Dickinson and maybe more as a passer rather than a scorer. Because Dickinson, I mean, he had 21 points. That's about the usual game for Hunter Dickinson. And he had nine of those points came in the second half. So he didn't dominate the game offensively, scoring-wise, but he started dishing it off. And what that leads to is it leads to guys like Caleb Houston, Eli Brooks getting open. They set a ton of picks in the second half, a ton of off-ball picks for Caleb Houston, for Eli Brooks. They love that little curl action with Eli Brooks, and he was making those mid-range shots in the second half. And so, great job by the Wolverines. Another thing to mention, by the way, Frankie Collins, great game. Great game by the true freshman out of Nevada. Fantastic job. 14 points. And listen, Frankie's not going to be a guy, at least not this year, maybe in the future, he's not going to be a guy who's going to put up 25 points. He's not a scoring guard like that just yet. But he led the game, and he had the offense running well. First half, again, throw that out the window. They weren't good in the first half. Frankly, I thought he was okay. But the second half, he did a great job leading this offense. He did a great job setting up the offensive half-court sets for the Wolverines. Give that kid a ton of credit. We'll see if Devontae Jones is back. That's going to be a big question mark for the Tennessee game. Sorry,
come on now.
I'm getting way ahead of myself, and this happens to me a lot in March.
Take the Lancers out, man.
As Coach Calipari says, never look ahead. It doesn't matter if you're getting ready to play a 1 versus 16 seed. Never even watch the film on that
with
one
like
team.
a word.
Yeah, no kidding. So I apologize. If there's any Longwood people listening to this, I apologize. But yeah, anyways, that second round game, I'm very excited. Michigan fans, get excited because this has been such an up and down year. This team has faced so much backlash, I think, throughout this whole season. The Juwan Howard, Wisconsin fiasco, everything that's gone on. It has been such an up and down year. They faced so much adversity, and yet each time they found ways to get through it. And hey, they're going to be in the round of 32, one of the best 32 teams in the country now.
Michigan in the second half outscored Colorado State by 19 points very quickly over the Michigan starting five. Hunter Dickinson 21, Frankie Collins 14, Diabate 7, Houston 13, Brooks 16. Neil, parting words.
Caleb Big Shot Houston. That's my parting words. My goodness, he was fantastic today. In the second half, it looked like they were starting to slow down a little bit around like the 12-minute mark. Caleb Houston then immediately set foot in this game offensively, knocking down those threes. And he was the reason that Michigan started to get up by as much as they did and eventually close out this game.
WCBN will be back on Saturday. I think I'm staying in town, but you might have to drive back to Ann Arbor and head right back to Indianapolis. But I really look forward to it if you come back and hang out with me some more here in Gainbridge Fieldhouse. Thank you so much to all of our great listeners today. We had a great audience and a great comment section as always. Michigan wins 75-63. And those NIT chants you heard earlier this year, ladies and gentlemen, those are out the window. Michigan is one of the best 32 teams in the country, and this win by 12 propels them to play on Saturday at around noon. Neil Sinha to my left. I'm Zach Linfield. Thank you, everybody. Good night. Signing off. Go Blue.